Stream began. Welcome. So Sam, I need to thank you. You gave out another tier one sub while I was offline.
Oh yeah, I'm just gonna throw my lawyer money at you since you haven't
Yeah,
paid this.
you gave
So,
5 subs. You gifted 5 subs on the during the stream on Friday, and now you've just subbed again like
yeah,
yesterday. So thank you.
that one's for selfish reasons. I'm actually curious, and I don't know, Dustin, if you know this, but like if you gift a sub, it goes to someone, but if they don't claim it, like does it go to someone else?
I don't know how it works. Yeah, Dustin, do you know how gifted subs work? It's like a total mystery to me too.
Oh, I just realized he is like on deaf and mute, so he probably doesn't.
Oh, he's probably just hearing. Well, he can hear me. He's usually listening. He's on
Oh,
definitely mute
oh,
on here because he's
because
watching the
he's on
stream.
Twitch. Yeah,
I'm just getting my windows arranged so I can see the chat.
Hey,
Dustin
just
says,
to
"I'm not
answer
sure
the
how they're claimed. I've
question.
always gotten them
oh,
automatically." Yeah. Oh yeah, you got a
Maddie, I think
question,
Maddie
Maddie?
has the answer. Yeah.
Oh, you know?
Oh yeah, yeah, just to answer the question, it goes to, if you don't pick the specific person, it goes to a random and it just gets applied automatically. They don't have
Ah,
to accept.
Oh,
hopefully
okay.
they use it. Yeah, hopefully they use it. Which I guess is like the point, where it's like, oh, someone who maybe wasn't sure, and they're like, oh, okay, since I got this up, to take advantage. I should hang out
Right,
with this Mohrbacher person.
exactly. I'm gonna go check out the channel. Let me chill in here since I have a sub.
That makes
So that's
sense.
kind of how it works.
Thank you.
Back
Yeah,
on mute.
I saw when I popped when we were rating somebody else. Well, I like automatically got a sub from like anonymous while I was in there. I thought that was pretty cool.
Nice.
Um,
You're so
but
popular, Pete.
I'm trying to be. That's. Let me be honest here. I'm trying.
I like
Like,
the added alliterative appeal of popular Pete.
Yeah.
so today, I uploaded. If you guys, let me just make sure that I need to change the way I think that this stream element is. Yeah. So here on the Discord, we've got these reminding everybody who watches the VODs or whatever. We have the studies. I uploaded the studies for today as normal, but I'm not going to do a study. I'm going to try to like make something from scratch live on stream and see what the numbers do, because we're trying to figure out what like the most people want to watch from me on stream, and this is like an experiment for us. So we're gonna give that a shot today and see how it pans out. See if I can do it. See if people like it. If it turns out I love it and everybody else loves it too, then we've got a new format that's going to be awesome. And if it turns out either I hate it or nobody likes watching it, it turns out to be really weird and bad, then like we're never going to do it again. Or maybe we'll mix it in. We'll see what happens. So, yeah, my plan, normally I don't work in Krita, but I've been hearing all this talk about the Chrome brush, this like weird Chrome brush thing. And so I was going to give it a shot and see if like I could doodle in it first and then pull it into Photoshop to finish off and do concept painting. Yeah, Krita seems really nice. Krita's got a lot of the functionality that Photoshop does. I think I've avoided it primarily because
Oh,
it
hey,
gets
I found that
clever.
Adam Morrill is here, by the way.
Oh,
Sorry, Pete. Yeah.
oh, hey, Adam.
Hey man, how's it going?
Adam Morrill is
Adam.
here.
It is
The
I,
Adam Morrill is
the
here.
the one and only.
Did you guys see
Oh,
that Adam Morrill's here today?
I'd heard. Sorry, Pete. What were you saying about Krita
Yeah, well, it's
brushes?
like it's good. It's just it wants to do everything in like a clever way, and so it drives me crazy sometimes. Like the performance of it is good, and like a lot of the tools work really well. It's just that like all the stuff with the hotkeys and like basic stuff like controlling the opacity. Like you can control the opacity by pulling this up and down here, but like on Photoshop, it's like number keys, and there's literally no way of creating a hotkey that allows you to like snap set the opacity. There's no hotkey you can set anywhere in the program to say like I want exactly 30% opacity. Let me hit this button and it'll change it. You can like, I think hold buttons so that like your cursor back and forth will change it, but that's not the muscle memory I have. So it's like I have to learn new muscle memory to use Krita extensively, which is the reason I haven't like done it. But it's got this cool brush that I like that I don't think is reproducible in Photoshop. So I wanted to try it out as like a way of doing really loose doodling. And then if I start to get something on here that I like, I'm going to go and bring that in as a sketch into Photoshop so I can finish it off like in comfort and style.
This is the key to doing good art. If you're a beginner, if you try using the chrome brush in Krita, it will definitely not turn out weird and bad.
It's definitely going to just only produce professional looking results. It's this one weird hack that the concept art industry doesn't want you to know about.
Yep.
I just want to say that I'm so fucking excited for this stream.
Oh my god, don't say that. It's just going to make it, you're just going to make me self-conscious and I'm going to fuck it up.
Bro, that first one was good. Oh my god. Oh, this is going to
They can all be good.
No.
They're all allowed to
What?
be good. It's not a matter of whether or not I think they're good. It's a matter of if I think I want to finish them.
I mean, this is still dope as fuck to watch, so whatever.
I'm
sure
literally
everyone
just
else agrees.
running my hand along this thing, kind of seeing what it does. I remember there was one that I had that I really liked when I first tried this out, and then I like just closed the program and didn't save it. And I'm like, oh. I was thinking about it like 2 days later, like, damn, I should have absolutely like saved that and played with it. But it was like the second time I ever touched the chrome brush, so I was like, I could probably do it again. Hey, what brush are you using? What brush are you using?
Yeah, what brush? Hey, I'm a terrible artist and I'm new to art.
Yeah.
Tell me the brush you're using so I can immediately become a great artist.
Oh my
Just,
god,
like,
I'm gonna do. I want to do a YouTube tutorial on my like standard round brush, and I want to clickbait it as hard as I can. I want to like figure out a way to clickbait it so hard that we're gonna get 1 million views.
The secret brush
video.
that no one's telling you about.
That's just
you know?
it's just a tutorial that just shows you how to set up the basic round brush in Photoshop, and I want 1 million views from it. Nothing unreasonable.
Yeah, it's not like you just select the brush that's already there. You have to like
It's the first brush on the
brush
list.
engine.
Yeah, I want to show them
Yeah.
how to engineer from scratch. I'm gonna give it a name. I'm gonna like tell people it's like the secret. I want to be like, I want a YouTube thumbnail that says, "The Photoshop brush that made me $1 million," which is like not a lie, not a
true.
lie.
Yeah.
Like over the course of like 10 years, the amount of money I've made on art adds up, and so I can make like crazy claims, being like, "Oh, this Photoshop brush made me like, $1 million," and I can be like, "Yeah, so this is the main brush that I used, and like I've been at this for a long time, and like, it's it does all the things." It's
What are
really
you
easy to
naming the
make
brush?
like wobbly mutants using this brush, like mutiny looking guys.
What's gonna be the name of the brush?
I'm thinking about calling it Old Huckleberry.
Uh,
Put it on brand.
the shape of the brush is inspired by huckleberries. It's round.
It's round, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought Old Huckleberry would be maybe make it like sound like old timey or something.
Oh, you could market it as like the ancient secret that like.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
ancient
Oh,
Chinese
yeah.
secret. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll co-sign because I'm part Chinese, and then also you can just say that you you received it, you channeled it from one of the archangels that you worked on.
Oh yeah, I think there's a smaller percentage of the audience that wants to hear the secrets of the angels more than they want to hear the secrets of like working for Blizzard.
Yeah, that's boring. This has slight vibes of the brush. Gives me slight vibes of like Shel Silverstein books. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh
Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
I
Wait,
mean,
I
to
really
be
like
honest,
Brush.
to
I've
be-
never seen it.
this is a hot take, right? And it's factual. Andrew Huberman, he I'm just funny. No, the artist, right? The artist doesn't matter if you're a good artist. The only reason why Pete is painting this goose because of his round brush. Like that's literally the only reason.
Yeah, it's the only reason. The round brush does all the work. I'm just here for the ride.
Yeah. I mean, I can tell you're
Here
just
that I'm
like,
not understanding.
Yeah, it's so weird because I disagree that it's like I need. How do I throw money at this brush so that I feel validated
Uh-huh.
that I've made the right decision? Yeah, that's really what I'm going for. So I hope that came off sarcastic. I'm not entirely sure. It's the autism. I can't tell.
Artistic brain,
Yeah,
Sam.
you're on the artistic spectrum now.
Yeah,
Hush,
yeah.
you're
Did you say
right.
you're artistic? Yes, that's what you heard.
Yeah,
That's what I
yeah.
said. Yeah.
you're being really
I
artistic.
was talking to a
That's
friend the other night, and he's like, we're talking about like you know, things that we've learned online, and he was talking about, oh yeah, you know, I was studying stoicism, and it really helped me with my juggling. And I was like, man, I just imagine like going on a date and like trying to tell if a girl asks like, oh yeah, what are you into, and be like, I'm a stoic juggler. Like the single worst opener ever.
I don't know, man. I think that's a winner there.
Be like,
Yeah, I think that's a win. I think that's jealousy, Pete.
you think
Yeah.
that's cope, that like I'm
Yeah,
jealous
cope.
of somebody being a stoic juggler?
Yeah.
Cope.
Cool.
It's not. It's the confidence of a man who's willing to have that as his opener. That's the attractive trait.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think that
I want to
that's a lot
celebrate the
of
fact that
stuff.
I've got Adam Morrill and Pete Mohrbacher in the same stream at the same time. What's up, Adam? Miss you, dude.
I don't think I'm the same tier of celebrity as the Pete Mohrbacher, Sam. But
You're building your
I
own
think
legend.
everyone is a hero celebrity.
Yeah, this is so awkward since I disagree with you. Pete's actually small potatoes. I don't know if you knew that, Adam.
Yeah, I'm
And
washed
he
up.
he mostly bullies us in this new Huckleberry server.
Yeah,
so.
he tells people they're good so they fail later on. That's like his big goal, to keep the competition down. Because
Yeah.
like
Right.
I mean, look at his VTuber. Of course he would do that.
he's
Yeah.
robbing the futures of
Pure
his
evil.
competition. Right.
he put Ace on blast just so she could like fail in a year. You know, really take out the young competition.
Oh,
Holy
speaking
shit.
of Ace just
What's up, Ace?
We were just making a joke that happened to involve you, and you manifested. You've been summoned.
Ace's name comes up a lot because like this is an ongoing joke.
Pete, how's it? How does it feel?
How's the chrome brush feel?
Yeah.
I'm like, the longer I work with it, the dumber I feel using it. Like I feel like the first time I touch a weird thing that does a lot automatically, I feel like I just kind of like don't care, and it does like cool stuff because of my lack of caring. And then now that I like want it to do something, I'm like not at 100% with it, and so I just keep like bailing out on stuff.
I have that with like fancy brushes sometimes, and then I'm like, I just want to draw the ear. I just want to draw the ear, and then it like ends up being a handbag because of the way that the brush is.
Oh, does anybody else still not know how to draw ears? 'Cause, like, I don't.
I feel like I'm guessing only about 30% of it at this point. It used to be like 80%.
Okay, yeah, I feel like I'm still in like the 80%.
Like when it's
range.
when a person's got their head rotated, so you can see like the ear no longer like sits against the side of the head, but sticks out like towards the viewer. I
Yeah.
get deeply lost.
Yeah.
That's such an odd thing to get lost. Like, and not because it's not hard. It's just like you're such a prolific art. It's just funny hearing prolific people struggle with things that they're really good with. It's not like a bad thing. It's just interesting.
Well, it's like
Yeah.
it's generally pretty easy to like know where the main like side profile of the ear. I've got like a bit of a formula for it that like generally works. You know, it's like there's this pit, and then there's this Y shape that kind of loops, and it like kind of breaks outside the form a little bit. And then you can kind of like point it at the top or whatever. Ears, I don't think ears are that tough from the side, but then you start looking at them from the back, and you have this thing where it's like a cup that like, you know, from the back of the ear, there's like that the like all the meaty part like behind it, the part that gets like really gross if you don't wash from behind. And I think I can probably draw it like straight on, but then once it starts, anything in between like the side and like and straight front or back, I really don't have any idea. Like I feel like I'm just BSing my way through it.
Yeah. Yeah, I always have to like redraw. Like if I like normally you don't draw the ear because like most of it is hidden under like hair or something. But like when you have to draw the whole ear, it's like crap. I don't actually know what an ear looks like. I just end up like redrawing it like 7 times. It's like okay, close enough, and then I like don't remember what I did or if it was even right. But you can kind of get away with it. I don't think anybody knows what an ear is.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's ever drawn an ear before.
Joke's on you guys. I have hoods on all of my characters.
Yeah. See, I have a guy with a hood, and I even ended up carving the ears out separately so that when I rotated it, I could rotate the ear behind it to give it a little more 3D look.
Does anybody in the chat know how to draw an ear?
Nope.
Calling all ear artists. We need you.
Yeah, ear experts. Give them Shrek ears.
I have a friend who really likes drawing hands, and I like need him to get an MRI or something like that because I don't I can see the appeal. I am not good at drawing hands or ears or really anything. That's probably why I do 3D these days.
Hands are fun. When I was a kid, I used to just like stare at my hands all the time because hands are cool.
How the fuck does this brush work? It's like magic and I'm confused.
Yeah, I don't fully get it. Like when it overlaps onto itself, it does a little something. So I'm just trying to like put the cursor where I want more stuff to be, and then hoping that it makes a cool shape.
Just kind of cross your fingers.
There's I remember someone named Tunser. He would do like a lot of gesture. He would use a big brush, just do a quick screw.
Oh yeah,
over.
Tunser's the stoic juggler.
He's the stoic juggler.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Holy dude, he's an idol. Man.
He is. He's epic. Tunser's great.
So he does have game. See, I think you're just fucking insecure.
Oh.
Tunser's also a hottie. Tunser works out.
I'm interested.
Oh, see, now we're making excuses. This is just like the logical downfall of Pete Moore.
No, he knows Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so like if you
yeah, no, he's Tunser's good at a lot of things.
Wait, how can you guys talk about this person and not give me socials?
He didn't like have socials. Like this is the thing is we met on Discord, and then like he was on this server for a bit. Like he's got like big brain status on the server, but he got a job like right before I started this server. So he doesn't hang out on Discord so much anymore. He works at Zenimax as a concept artist now.
Oh.
Oh, that's dope. Wait, but actually, like, I'd love to see his work. Is there any way we can do that?
Yeah.
Tunser. If you look up Tunser Aaron, he's got an ArtStation page.
AARON.
EREN.
Okay.
Yeah, no. I sometimes I see him do like figures or gesture, and he has like this big brush. He just paints over the canvas.
This guy fucks.
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, and I'm just like, did you do that? He's like, not really. And I'm like, you're lying to me, dude. You did that.
Look at the beard and the hair. This guy, I get it now. You're right. Never mind.
Yeah, Tunser and I hung out when I went out to New York. He lives in Jersey. He came out, and we got some Middle Eastern food and like chilled out.
God, I love Middle Eastern food. Ugh.
No, he's a pretty chill guy. He's pretty, down to earth.
Yeah.
Sometimes he can be really high to earth with his jokes.
Oh wait, shit.
I feel like the speed that the brush is moving at matters or something, because when I go slow, it feels like it makes larger marks than when I'm moving around fast.
I wonder why this thing was made. Because it's not in Photoshop, right? They didn't make this because they were like, we just want to be Photoshop but free.
No, I mean Krita wants to be its own thing, and so it's trying to make like unique things, which is good. You know, we need more weird art stuff in the world.
Yeah, they did it, and people make awesome stuff with this brush. Like,
Yeah,
I
I
can't figure it
kind of
out.
want to try it out, even though I don't know how to draw, and I guess never mind.
Well,
Wait.
thankfully, what was it? The Krita is free, you know, so it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
It's great.
anybody who wants to give it a try, you know, you don't need to worry about, like not having a thing, not having spending money on it or whatever. If you need a tablet, go to huckleberry.art and go look at. I've got like a list of cheap tablets with Amazon affiliate links on them.
Yeah, the Huion that you suggest as like a budget tablet is incredible. I got it and it was like 20% off at the time. Got it for $40.
Yeah,
Unreal.
yeah.
they're really-
It's like I probably would get picky about some stuff with it because I'm so used to like my Intuos. But like even other items in the Intuos line, I get like picky about like the material of like the work surface, because I like I've always worked with one that has like a really smooth surface. Some of them they try to get textured because some people prefer a textured feel.
Oh, that makes sense.
And it's a matter of preference more than a matter of quality in a lot of cases.
Has anyone here used Art Studio Pro? It's on Mac.
I don't know it.
Well, apparently it's good. It's a good alternative to Photoshop if you have a Mac. So
Is
I
it
was just
cheap
hoping-
or free?
It's a one-time. It has a one-time purchase, but apparently, I was looking at the forums, and apparently they might be moving to subscription-based.
Oh my god, really? Fuck.
Yeah, but a lot of people are saying that Art Studio Pro is pretty neat. So
I wonder if Krita's like long-term master plan is that they're going to move over to being like a subscription-based thing once they take over like a whole cohort of beginner artists.
I mean, didn't
yeah.
Photoshop kind of do that? Like a lot of people were like, "Oh, I like Photoshop's tools and their transform," and then they just
Yeah, Clip
Thank
Studio
you.
did that too. Clip Studio had a big stranglehold on that sort of free entry market, especially.
so everyone's done that. Then it seems like.
That's the play. That's the long play. And I thought Art Studio Pro. I think it's a ready subscription for mobile, like iOS.
Oh,
I think I could be wrong.
yeah. I was just looking at forums this morning. I was like, let's see what people think, because a lot of people are like Art Studio Procreate. I'm like, well, Art Studio should be pretty good, right? It's just very they don't have a color wheel. You have to go like to the color editor.
Which I do normally anyway. Though I realize that like part of the reason I do that is because like the color wheel thing in the panel for colors in Photoshop CS6 doesn't have the color wheel option. Because I was like, you know what? I'm gonna add a color wheel to my layout. I should have it. And then I realized the reason I haven't been using this whole time. But like I was gonna start trying to paint in CC, but the problem there is that like the way that I have my tablet driver set up, it doesn't. The pressure sensitivity is broken on my version of CC right now, so I need to spend like an afternoon debugging it.
Yeah. Oh no,
you got a sub. I'm not sure if you got the notification.
Oh shit! I'm not getting like the ding anymore.
Oh.
Thank you so much for Specta.
Is your source muted in OBS?
Source muted in OBS. I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't mute anything.
The one for Stream Elements.
I looked away for 2 seconds and you have like a whole fucking thing.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm banking on. The stream elements overlay, it seems like it's just normal. I don't know why it would... I don't know where the sound was coming from before. But, yeah. But, like, that's how I didn't notice the raid last time also. I wonder if I just need to, like, reboot... I haven't rebooted OBS in a long time. Maybe that's it. But yeah, the whole thing I'm doing here is, like, the reason I keep throwing them out is because instead of, like, fighting the thing to say, like, hey, this thing has, like, a couple of good qualities about it, I should save it. I should fix it. Like, instead, I'm just kind of hoping that I'm going to get, like, a lot of stuff that's going to work that's going to make it really easy. And then instead of spending 10 seconds drawing and then an hour trying to, like, figure out what's good about it, if I can just, like, spend an extra, like, 15 minutes throwing away bad drawings, if I can get one good one, it's going to speed up the whole rest of the process tremendously.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. It's like that, Jazz, that's that thing we talk about, like, just iteration. Just as quickly as possible. By the way, Pete, in Twitch chat, Vanta TDM asks, any tips on how to build up a good visual library to be able to draw from memory like you do, Pete?
Oh, yeah. So the strategy I always talk about is, like, I say that the first thing you need to do is draw the thing out of your head poorly. Like, if you want to draw, like, something you've never drawn before, like a bicycle. Like, if you ever try to draw a bicycle out of your head and you don't know it in specific, you're going to draw, like, a fucked up bicycle. And then you look up, after you've drawn the fucked up bicycle, you, like, go and get reference. And you draw one from reference. And then you go back and then draw one from imagination again now that you have some, like, idea of it. You draw it out of your head, but you have the reference nearby so that you have, like, the ability to check in case you've forgotten something. So you're still mostly drawing from memory. And so that repetition of, like, you get the negative feedback of, like, I'm doing it wrong. Then you copy it so you have, like, the information on hand. And then you go and do it, like, more or less correctly with a little bit of assistance. And if you do that, like, over and over again with different things, they're going to all add to your visual library. So, like, I cheated that a little bit over the years by, I would go to try to draw something and I would get, like, a kind of fucked up version of it. Then as I was trying to finish it, I would go and look up the reference to double check the, like, what was wrong with it and fix it, like, in the painting. And so I would do all three of those steps kind of, like, in line with one painting. But I think if you wanted to be really diligent about it, I would make them, like, 3 separate drawings. That's probably, like, the fastest way to learn it.
Wait, hey Pete, have you done any work for Magic? Because your art style looks really familiar to the Eldrazi.
I did work on Magic for, like, about 10 years ago.
Okay. Yeah, because
He did like the promo, like, prime time, and, like,
I did a couple of Eldrazi cards.
Yeah, it looks very Eldrazi.
Took me a minute to realize you meant Primeval Titan by prime time, Jay.
All right, so copying this, let's see, control. Can I copy, merge this over? Okay, yeah, it doesn't copy alpha channels out of Krita into Photoshop at all. Doesn't like that. You know, I think I'm going to do a bust rather than try to do a full body.
I'm, like, from a miniature standpoint, I'm starting to think that busts are superior.
Everybody likes a good bust.
What's up?
Everybody likes a good bust.
I mean, that's true. It's valid. But I don't know. I don't want to, like, go down the miniature rabbit hole again. But I'm making a statement, I guess.
Oh, you did Swan Song. I'm looking at your MCG.
Yeah, Swan Song's amazing. Love that Magic card.
Yep, that was the easy one. Just draw a swan, kind of. That one's real. The original for that's really rough. Like, it looks fine at card size, but I went to go print it, and I was like, ugh, I'm gonna clean this up a little bit.
Yeah, you did Ulamog, a reflecting pool. Yeah, I was like, I looked at your art station like earlier, and I was like, huh, Eldrazi. He must have done one of those Eldrazi cards.
Yeah, I mean, I was working for them during the time when they were doing Return to Zendikar, so yeah, I got pulled into that a little bit, but I didn't get to do anything really interesting with it. Like, I mean, I tried to get on the concept team for that push, but they went with other people. But yeah, it's fine. I mean, I've been doing this stuff without magic. Like, I've been doing stuff in sort of a weird transhuman kind of thing that like really isn't inspired by magic directly at all.
Yeah.
For as long or longer than they've been doing Eldrazi.
Yeah, I'm looking like one of your first cards you did, the island.
Mm-hmm. That one got reprinted a million times.
Oh wow. When was this? This was probably like 10 plus years ago, huh?
Yeah.
Like what would you do different? Because like it looks like very I'm pretty sure you would have tackled it differently now, wouldn't you?
I'm just better at painting all the different things that are in the that are there. Like, I'm just better at painting clouds and waves and rocks and everything. And like, I was very nervous at the time, so I would probably be able to do it a lot more confidently. Maybe a little bit more realistically, but I'm not sure. I like when I left some amount of stylization in the cards.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, because your painting style it's very distinct, so I couldn't ignore it anymore. I was like, I gotta ask him.
Yeah, it comes up a lot. People asking about magic. Mostly people who like don't know that I used to do it, because it seems like an easy fit, right?
Yeah. It has a paint, like a lot of artists who like do a lot of cards for Magic. They have like a very distinct style. Like you can't say, oh yeah, this one looks just like this one. Like it's all very different painting styles.
There are like definitely painting styles that lend themselves to a magic card pretty well. Like punchy light is one of the things I see like really often because like you want to be able to identify what you're looking at in something that's like really small. So yeah, I think you're definitely right. Although some like I don't know about Pete's newer stuff.
I try to make sure that my stuff would read well if it's printed small. Because, like, I mean, even when I'm not making art for cards, I still, my work is being seen on phones a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, clearly identifiable, like, shapes is, like, a hallmark of magic art, it seems. And then there's, like, Richard Kane Ferguson, and I just never know what the fuck's happening in his art, but it's cool. So.
Yeah, it's like, it's got an aesthetic, texture to it.
Are we allowed to like shit talk magic art on here?
Well, if you want to deal with the repercussions of shit talking one of your peers, go for it.
Okay. There's no one particular artist. It's just like I never get excited about the art on white instants and sorceries.
Oh, that's
whatever,
because,
man.
like,
It's so nitpicky.
That's so odd.
Thank
Also,
you, thank you, Emmy, for the tier 1 sub.
Yeah.
Also, I don't think you're wrong.
Yeah, like, is there a single like white instant or sorcery that you like remember the art on?
Yeah, Rebecca Gway's Path to Exile.
Oh yeah, I guess Path to Exile. Yeah, never mind, I'm wrong. It's just there's so many ones that are like your white, like your creatures gain +2/+1 in first strike or whatever.
I'm a total sucker for Azorius control. Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. His emblem. Each time you draw a card, you can exile targets non-land permanent.
Actually, like all the Path to Exiles are really fucking good. Oh, wait a second. Wow, actually, I'm tripping. Yeah, they're all incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, Path to Exile. I kind of forgot about that one. It's just there's so many of them where it's just some like generic soldier dudes fighting.
I think Swords to Plowshares also.
But Path to Exile is like a guy disintegrating.
Yeah, Swords to Plowshares like has some good ones of that.
All right, so Vanta TDM has a question. I have another question. How do you deal with the screen calibration for print or final colors? Is it a print it and see what happens, or just adjust for final? Screens are so different from one another. This is a really good question. I have one of those like screen calibrator things. I bought it like ages ago. I have no idea if it really does its job.
Is it software, Pete?
It comes with software. It's like a hardware thing that like you hang over your screen and it flashes a bunch of colors and it creates a color profile based off of what the sensor is taking in. But like, yeah, I don't remember I don't remember if it's like on this current computer build I have right now, because the problem with it is that it requires you don't just need like the software install and the hardware. Like, in order to keep people from passing the hardware around between a bunch of different machines, you have to have like it installed with a key. So like they have like a serial code. So like if I lost the box for it, it doesn't work anymore. But like I found that like having like a really good high-end PC monitor, generally like you don't end up in such bad shape. When it comes to making stuff for print, it's like important to know the ways in which print tends to be different from looking at an image on the screen, which is generally fairly universal. Like, because screens are always going to be backlit and print never is. Like, unless you're doing like a, what do you call it? Like a one of those lenticular things with like a light thing behind it. Like you're never going to get backlit. So a lot of near shadows look like midtones on a screen, but then when you go and if you have an image that has like a bunch of like subtly different shadow colors that are all high saturation, when they go to print they look like they all blend into like the same shade of like dark gray, like muddy dark gray. So I try to make sure that whenever I'm painting, I'm staying out of that space. I don't want to try to differentiate a bunch of stuff based off of it being like slightly different shadow tones. Like I want to create really clear differences between my like shadows and my halftones, so that like even if the calibration isn't exactly right, that the picture still reads. And I mean that is like one of the big things that I like learned while I was working on Magic, was I got to see how stuff got printed like differently from where it looked on the screen versus how it looked when it was printed 1 inch by 1.5 inches, like on paper. And I really started to try to push myself to make sure that I was going to have really big separations in like color and value across like an image that was going to go to print. And I find that if I can maintain a reasonable like range for my values, then it doesn't really matter if the print is like a little bit off, because like it really is a matter of like you have to, there's ways of painting that are very dangerous for going to print. And if you do it that way, then like you're going to be unhappy most of the time, because everything is always going to feel darker. Like I don't think anybody ever gets a print back and goes like, oh, it's way too bright. It looked so much darker on my monitor. If you have an X-Rite Calibrate Data Color Monitor Color Calibrator, you can use the Display Cal with most. Also, to get ideal results, you have to calibrate your screen in sync with your printer. It is all very complicated. Yeah, I was doing like a whole like, there was I had a big commercial printer, and I was like dealing with trying to figure out how to calibrate it professionally, and it involved taking printouts of test sheets and like mailing them to a place to go get professionally scanned so they could send you back color profiles. And it was like a really expensive service, and I was like, nah, I think it looks pretty good. I'm just going to deal with it.
Man, I instantly feel bad about what I said about white instants and sorceries. I'm just
there's some really
Google image
incredible
search,
ones.
and there
You
are some
fucked
cool
up.
ones.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't know. For some reason, what pops into my head when I think like white instants and sorceries is like pictures of Gideon with like 1d7
What's
random
wrong with
soldiers.
Gideon?
Nobody
There's
loves
nothing wrong with
Gideon.
Gideon.
He's
No,
a
it's just like-
humble and loyal soldier.
Nobody loves Gideon. Gideon's lame.
Yeah, honest to God, that's just the truth. He's the most fucking vanilla, literally, planeswalker ever. Actually, you know what? I actually hate all of the first 5. They can all go. Actually, as
No,
Johnny
I
can
like
say-
most. I like most of them.
Conjure's
Nah.
cool.
I like
Nah.
most of them. There's a lot of newer ones that are just like a person with like pretty normal clothes on, and I can do without that.
No, the thing is with these planes cards, of course they're gonna be more basic than your, swamps, your islands. I think forest, forest and island. I forgot the name of that, but they have some really interesting cards.
Simic?
Simic, yes, Simic. I love Simic's cards. They always have interesting like designs with their creatures.
Yeah, because the idea I don't know if you know the concept between the color pie.
More or less, yeah, more or less. My friend ran me through it in high school, but it's
Yeah.
been more than 2 years since I played it. Or
Simic looks dope because blue. There's one side of blue which is knowledge, and then but sometimes it's to the point of perfection, right? Jin Gataxis is the idea of knowledge gone too far.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then green is nature, so that's why you have this push towards perfection in Simic, where you get these really uniquely cool character concepts. I agree with you. Although not all of them strike my personal fancy, I still appreciate it a lot.
Yeah, well, Simic, yeah, I mean, yeah, not everything's gonna be like a banger, right? But for
Yeah.
the most part, Simic, I like it.
Yeah. I think my favorite colors combination is Abzan and Demir. Blue,
The main-
black, and Abzan is white, green, black. Yeah.
So-
yeah, the mirror definitely has a strong, genre in it.
So Summer Dragoness is asking about floaters, whether or not I've got vision floaters, and how I deal with them. I've had them since I was a kid, and I always worried that my fucking retina is just gonna detach one day. But I get my eyes checked out. Everything's fine. They're not too distracting while I'm working. I notice them more while I'm driving. I
Yep.
don't think I ever noticed them while I'm working.
Blank spaces are really rough.
Like
Although I don't see, usually they're not indicative. Are they? Actually, I guess I should ask. Last time I checked about floaters, my doctor told me they're not necessarily indicative of
yeah, they
something.
can be when you get old. They can be really. They can be a real problem where they get really big and they can affect your vision, and they could be a sudden influx of floaters could be a sign that something else bad is happening.
Right.
But,
okay.
having them is pretty standard.
Yeah, most people have floaters. I talked to my eye doctor, and he's like, honestly, I don't tell people they have them if they haven't noticed it, because otherwise they're going to notice it and never stop. And I'm like, honestly, that's probably a reasonable thing to do.
Yeah,
although I question it. At the same time, I'm like, you're a doctor, maybe you should tell people, but I don't know.
No, he's right. He's 100%
Yeah.
right.
I think
Everybody in chat's checking for floaters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, you all got floaters, and you're never gonna unsee them. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Shit.
Adam, what have you been up to, man?
Yeah, what have you been up to?
I was gone all last week. I was at I mean, it was kind of like vacation leading into a Comic-Con last weekend.
Exciting.
So my buddy has a lake in BC, or his parents have a property there that I was hanging out at, which was really fun. But I don't know if probably not because it's Canada, but Kelowna was on fire last week, so the Comic-Con ended up getting canceled. So
Bummer.
yeah, huge bummer. I mean, inconvenience for me, but terrible thing to happen for
Yeah,
people.
those people whose
actually.
houses burned down, I mean, they're gonna get a new one, but you're not gonna get another shot at that Comic-Con.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, there was evacuations going on all weekend, and it was pretty. Canada's on fire, man. It's.
I hear. Yeah, it seems like a lot of stuff's on fire. It's concerning.
Yep. And you guys are going to get our smoke in a month, maybe. So.
The
Now,
New
Adam-
Yorkers.
Adam, I have a question. Obsidian Grove is your company, correct?
Yeah, you bet.
I'm just looking at your stuff, dude. Your enamel pins are awesome.
Thank you. There's a you can thank Pete for that too.
I know. I'm like, it's, I'm one of those people that just takes advice rather cautiously, and so I just like do a lot of research. We were talking about this before stream started, and you and Pete had talked about Kickstarter and enamel pins so much that for the last like few weeks I've just been like looking into it. It's completely insane. Like, it's such a great idea.
So Kim is asking, she's bringing up this question. Apparently, I managed to brain poison her, and bring up this idea of the creative trifecta. Oh, Spectaha, I'm going to be at Lightbox this year, so they're asking about Lightbox. So the creative trifecta for me is like technical skills, creative vision, and marketing. That like I think you can build a business with any two of those, even if you're really bad at the third one. And so she's asking like, hey, what about the creative vision part? Like, obviously you could probably learn about marketing. You could probably learn about, building your technique. But like creative vision is one of those things that like, there's even a debate about whether or not it's teachable. Like Adam, I think you're somebody who has like a really strong like vision for like the look of your work, your style. Like, do you credit it to anything?
I would say it's a product of me just looking at a lot of art that I really like and not spending time looking at art that I feel like I should be looking at. I found that like with
you're
when
like
I was
old
sort of
masters
developing-
heavy metal album covers. Yes.
Yeah, basically just injecting myself with a very thin slice of the available artwork that's out there because there's so much good stuff that I feel like one of the traps that I felt myself getting into and a lot of younger artists do is getting in that sort of art station front page loop where they're just constantly looking at like top tier art and then wanting to do that.
This is the
and
good
then
art.
looking at other,
Everything else is lower tier. Yeah.
Yeah, man, I'm looking at Rack Steel, The Witness, and like the three in that row on your website. Oh God, I mean, absolutely fucking unreal. Yeah, dude, you got some. What's up?
No, the sapling enamel pins look pretty neat.
Yeah, no, I love your stuff, man.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, like this is.
So you really think it's just about like knowing what you want? Like you're like, I know what I want. I don't give a fuck about what people say is good. I'm just gonna like my own thing.
I think that's a big part of it because it's there's so much out there that if you're like really like part of it was finding out what was out there, which meant like diving like fully into the deep end and absorbing as much art as I could, and then pruning it to the narrow focus that I wanted to actually that aligned with also my habits as an artist. So I think there's just certain inclinations that people like I think if you like drawing hard surface mechs versus really organic shapes and bodies, I feel like if you can find some artistic influences that can match with your natural artistic personality, I think that's where you are able to make a lot of progress.
So I think like to answer your question then, Pete, I think it's not really like necessarily a learned thing. It sounds like Adam just followed his intuition.
Yeah, which is like, if somebody's like, okay, I really want to like grow in this dimension. Like if I want to grow in this capacity, like what do I do? And like I definitely see a pattern with people who have like a strong vision that they are just comfortable with who they are and what they like. But I don't know if there's like a path to that. Like, I wouldn't say like, okay, well, it's all about building your identity. Like, you need to do these exercises. Like, I don't know if there's anything. I don't think I have anything prescriptive for people. Like, I have some general advice that I give people when it comes to, building their own style and like sort of holistic thoughts on what is like a good idea generally. But I don't have anything that's like really prescriptive about it. So if somebody's feeling really stuck in that capacity, like I honestly haven't really come up with a great way of helping them.
To Adam's point, something like since joining this Discord, I've seen a lot more art, and like kind of what Adam was saying is I've seen so much, and then because of that, I've very quickly identified things that I definitely love, and I'm starting to see like consistent, like you said, pruning it down. I think Adam is like 100%. Like I would agree.
You just
It's
seem
not
like a
necessarily-
pattern in your own taste. Like this,
Yeah,
this stuff
yeah,
keeps
and-
coming up.
Now I like when I'm looking at concept artists on the internet, like I know exactly what I do and don't like in general. Like I like very expressive, like almost exaggerated fantasy concept art. I like the entire image to tell the entire story. Like nothing is left unsaid almost. And like I definitely seek that out. And I almost settle for nothing less at this point. Because like it's what I prefer. If I can limit my scope to just that, I would almost prefer to do so. But I still like engage in other art styles. Like I still want to see what everyone's up to and what they're doing. So yeah.
Yeah, because you're allowed to like a lot of different things. Like you can like as much as you want, and I like the scope of what I like is much more broad than what I actually try to practice.
Yeah. Yep. I 100% agree. And I have a little bit of a different approach because I can't necessarily always apply the things I like. But like when I'm working through with a concept artist for like a concept for me, I do definitely apply those things that I'm very interested in. So it should be like, what's up?
You can stick goats in anything.
Yes.
Whatever, man. I mean, hopefully not anything.
Yeah, I guess you wouldn't want goats in like your coffee or whatever, but anything artistic.
But I think you guys definitely touched on a really solid point about how it's about injecting a small amount of like what the available art out there is, just whatever attracts your eye. Gather a small collection of those things. You know, it doesn't have to be a massive collection, but then, you know, choosing one or like finding what matches, and then maybe trying to boil it all down to one general type of approach. So.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, Adam, I think you said it perfectly. I was just validating what you said through a really lengthy process. Sorry.
And
no, I think it's important for people to hear what you're going through now too, because I mean, Pete's had a style developed for many years, and I mean, I'm sure he has some insight to share on how he came to that. But
No, not really.
Not really.
I just
from the
I
outside
think this
looking
is
in-
cool. I'm trying to do the best I can. I sure hope people like this shit. And then like, it turned out a lot of people liked it, and I was like, damn, that was lucky. I was really lucky. And then people were like, how did you do that? And I'm like, there was like a while where I wanted to try to like boil down like the little bit I knew about my experience into something that felt like wisdom. And mostly I just feel very lucky at this point. Like, because I don't know how much of it's repeatable, at least even for me. Like if I were to try to, now like a lot of the stuff that I'm known for is like over 10 years old. I don't remember what was going through my head while I was working on a painting 10 years ago. You know, like I don't know exactly how to repeat what I've done in the past. You know, I feel like you can only even, like, this is something I guess that happens. It becomes a growing concern when you stay in the game for long enough. Like you can only ever be the artist that you are right now, and I think that is like probably true for both. That probably sounds smart. I don't know if it actually is smart, but like that's true for whether or not you are a newbie or like you've been in the game for a really long time. Like you're never gonna not just be yourself. So it's probably a good idea to just lean into that, you know, whatever that means.
Yeah.
It's like maybe not even something you can always put into words or like systematize.
Yeah. Yep.
Because I've been in a few art discords, and talking to many artists, you know, you find that there are some who have more or less kind of found themselves, and others who really don't, I guess, ask themselves that question. They don't really self-investigate much. And the only way I've tried to help out those people in finding that aspect of themselves is by trying to ask the questions I've asked myself. You know, like, what do I like? Like, what is it about this thing that I like? Can I name it? Is it a specific trait? Is it like what character? Is it what subject? You know, what themes does it deal with? You know, try to find what is that recipe, that specific ingredient that makes this art piece opposed to this art piece appeal to me. You know, and I try to ask that person the same questions, like, what have you found that you're naturally attracted to.
That's a really good point. I got stuck in a trap where I thought the things I liked about art initially was the subject matter, but it turned out to be like a much broader thing. And there's like a consistent set of things that I liked, and then I started appreciating all sorts of different subject matters in the art styles that I liked, and it kind of broadened my approach to things. Like, and what you said was
That's
really
weird.
Hmm?
That's weird to me, Jay. I
What?
like no matter how much like I do art or whatever, there's just certain subject matters that I like. Like even when they're drawn bad, I kind of still like them. And
Yeah.
like there's just certain art I don't care about, like no matter how good it is.
I guess like to a certain degree, I might agree. It's more so an appreciation. I'm not a huge fan of anime art in general,
How dare you?
but
How dare you?
I
In this room.
but there are
Hey, Zipon's
aspects-
Revenge. And
There
Jumping
are-
Dragons 2 was asking how to pronounce my name. I pronounce it Mohrbacher, but if you ask a German person, they're going to say it with way more in the back end of it.
But there are parts of anime art that I really like, and one of them is how expressive the hands. There's like a big focus on hand gesture in anime art that I really appreciate, and it's something that I strive to apply in my personal tastes.
I like the part where it looks awesome and cool. I really like how
Yeah.
awesome anime art is. How it like looks good when I see it with my eyes.
He's a simple man.
Yeah.
What's
It's
cool
like-
to me?
But
Like
I feel
fun.
like that level of focus and willingness to lean into that specific, dimension of art has allowed Pete to develop his style, because you could see like from like your earlier work to your work now, it's like you're kind of doing the same stuff, but you've just taken the time to just say, I want to make this better and cooler on my eyeballs.
Yeah,
in a way that
yeah.
just-
There's like a lot of just like little things where I see in other people's art, and I'm like, oh, I wish I could do that. And I tried to incorporate it, but like I generally was still just doing the same thing, selfishly. But I was trying to like incorporate these other aspects like built into on top of it, and so it wasn't like a concerted effort to develop a style. It was really just, it felt like there wasn't a lot of choices. Like I was just trying to like upgrade. I only knew how to make art like me, and then I was trying to upgrade what that meant by learning new things and developing like my technique. And then people like, and then like a certain amount of it comes back to process. Like I'm finding from doing more like study that some digital artists are mega flexible with their process, while other ones are incredibly rigid. And personally, I think I fall on the rigid side of things. Like part of the reason I'm able to like reliably do a lot of the same stuff over and over again and have it feel the same is because I'm reusing a lot of the same like process over and over again. And it's like so kind of specific to me and my thinking that I don't think it's like that useful as a lesson to other people to copy my process. But it's useful to me to have like an understanding about what I like about it so that I can continue to use it as a tool.
Yeah.
Is there anybody that you take inspiration from when you're making art? Like, is
Oh,
there like
yeah.
a goal in mind or an artist?
Oh, we can go through it a little bit. You want to see some? You want to see how badly I'm ripping off my inspirations?
Hell yeah.
Let's do this.
Hell
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I want to feel validated because I feel, please.
So let's see, because there's like plenty of times where I'm just like really ripping somebody off. Like, I mean, this is, some of them are worse than, or better versions of them than others. Like me attempting to do Yoshitaka Amano, but in my style, is like where we end up with this stuff. Like like all the flowy shapes from Amano, like that's like what I'm trying to pull off here, and kind of failing at it. Let's keep going. Oh, wait. Does it not do the thing that I like anymore about this template? Shit. this. Oh, there it goes. This is a really bad Wayne Barlow impression.
Oh.
Let's pull up Wayne. So there's Wayne Barlow. There's Armor Us. It's just like
Nice.
the color palette. I was just like, damn, I really love Wayne Barlow's work. I love how organic and like goopy everything is, and I like his like weird pink and red color palette. And so this is my best impression of Wayne Barlow.
Well, I'm gonna lie, I'm kind of disappointed.
What?
Oh god.
Oh, let's see. There's let me pull up another one here. I'm just remembering which ones I like stuck kind of close to a style reference. This is my attempt at James Jean.
Oh, I can see it now that you say it.
Yeah. So like I'm not borrowing from like the same genre over and over and over again. I'm not borrowing from like the same artists over and over again. But yeah, this is my like. So this is my James Jean impression, like the weird flowy shapes in the background, everything being kind of like bigger and like goopier. He's got this thing where he does like, you know, these brighter colors, but also like these sort of big goopy shapes. So I was attempting to do that here. But like I'm also using my own process while I'm doing it, and so it's like leaning into like the way that because he's doing these in acrylic, and I'm doing like, you know, my whole thing with like gradient maps and hard light, and you know, of course it's being built off of my drawings too.
Yeah.
This is just me like borrowing the Vaporwave color palette. Let's see, what else we got? This is a ripoff of Beksinski. Oh, I have a couple of those. Actually.
You're not ripping it for your like character design. You seem to be taking more about the color palette and the overall approach to like the background, less so the design of the character.
Yeah, it depends. Let's see. Like Beksinski's got these like weird giant cathedrals, right? And so I was trying to do that here, but I didn't go quite as bold with it.
Yeah.
There's like a little bit of subject matter in like the Yoshitaka Amano one. Like they both have lions in them. Although it's not like Yoshitaka Amano is the only person who thought like maybe I should like put a lion.
Yeah. This is also really Beksinski inspired here. Like this, there's a lot of like little shape elements in this one that are really, really closely related to Beksinski's work. He does these like, let's see if I can find some examples. There's like blowing bits of paper in the wind and stuff. Oh yeah, the background on this is the piece that inspired the background for Uriel. There's like a bunch that have like Beksinski notes in it, but like you can see these like red trees and stuff, and like the kind of weird vibe of it. Like that's the same thing that's coming from here. So there's some pretty direct quotes in some of mine that go back to like favorite artists of mine.
That's cool. I mean, and it's like totally.
This doesn't look like a piece. This isn't a subject that Beksinski would make, right? Like so, it's not like a perfect copy of his stuff. It's just like I'm taking bits and pieces. Like okay, well, what am I going to put in the background here? How do I build the mood of this thing? And so I'm looking to paintings that I really like and trying to figure out, well, what made the mood work for their version of it. And you know, he's got really bold, weird like color contrasts in his images that I think that when I was doing the gradient map stuff, it was like auto-producing some things that were like this. Let's look at the emanations. Have a lot of this too. Like starting at the beginning of it, like the weird like flying pieces of paper. Like that is totally a Beksinski thing.
One of my favorite artists from like a lighting perspective is Donato Giancola. I don't know if that's how you if you pronounce it right. I love like, man, there are like some artists where it's just like their lighting is just absolutely incredible, and this is like one of them.
But yeah, the Emanation series leans really heavily on the first run leans really heavily on Beksinski as an inspiration.
You go through like phases where you're like obsessed with like a particular artist.
I mean, I like a lot of different artists, and it's more a matter of like if I'm working on a series, I want to have like a certain vibe for it, and then I will I'll like pick a handful of artists that are kind of be the like muse for those pieces, and I'll borrow from them really heavily, and then I'll go and pick a different one for a different series or a different piece. And so I'm pulling from a lot of different sources for the entire body of work. So even though if I'm like pulling from one artist really closely for like a few paintings, it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, people are seeing like a lot of different work from me, like done in different styles, like different variations on the same style. And like it's all being filtered through my own lens. So like I think that's how everybody arrives at their style to some degree, is that they are filtering other art that they like through their own kind of imperfect process, and it develops into its own thing. And so if you're pulling from a lot of different sources, I just tell people to rip off their inspirations as hard as possible, because in a lot of cases people try to kind of like they kind of try to like do a worse version of whatever their inspiration is on purpose to try to avoid like being too close to it. But I think that if you really want to have your own sense of voice in it, like I think you need to lean into it all the way and like really, really steal from your inspirations, and then just steal from like a lot of different ones at different moments, and it all kind of naturally coalesces into its own like set of things. Like you pick up a lot of stuff, but the only stuff that sticks with you is the stuff that is the most natural.
Oh god, it's super true. Actually, like a lot of stuff people like say about my drawings is actually just a product of me like trying to rip off one image I really liked and spending like 80 hours on one painting. And now like certain aspects of the way that guy draws are just like stuck in the way I draw, and I like can't get rid of them even when I'm trying to get rid of them. And I bet
but
more stuff like that will just accumulate over time.
Yeah, but like you also end up borrowing from a lot of different stuff at different times, and so it's like not all of it does stick with you. It's only the stuff that is natural for you that sticks with you long term, which is the stuff that you would want to keep. So I think it's perfectly fair, and I think that it's a natural way of progressing as an artist, and I just recommend that people like try to not avoid it, because I think that in the process of avoiding it, you prevent yourself from developing your own style. So while everyone's trying to be original, I think that they're like just stunting their growth. It's not important for us to be original.
Man, that is probably a message that needed to be heard by as many people as humanly possible.
Maybe.
I also feel like your stuff will just end up original by accident. Like you're saying you're like ripping off these artists, Pete, but like your stuff's actually pretty different from like the source material.
Right. But like,
well, I mean, I started off ripping off like anime, and then I started getting into other stuff, and then they folded together, and it's like, hey, the aesthetics I liked about anime mixed with like a Polish surrealist, and I ended up with something that was not really either of those things. And then people were like, wow, that's really unique. How did you develop that? I'm like, well, I really like anime. And then I discovered an artist on like Something Awful back in like the early 2000s, and I've never stopped copying him. You know, like that doesn't sound like an insightful artistic process, but then in practice, it actually, I think it's the only way to do it.
Right. The point I was making is that like I think the process has kind of been talked about in a really unpractical way, and it's almost been, I don't know, it's been turned, like, artists talk about how they got to where they're at as if it was, like, on purpose. I feel like a lot.
Oh yeah, it's a
And-
lot of again, it's a lot of retconning to avoid cringe. Like,
Yeah,
the majority of what an artist tells about themselves and their stories is simply, and like how to repeat what they do is really them trying to edit out all the cringy bits.
yeah, and I think the point I was making is that hearing from someone, you know, who might be an idol to someone in chat or here saying, listen, just like fucking do what you need to make it look good and like don't worry about it, is honestly like
I mean, that
Um,
is kind of the message, isn't it? Like,
right, that's
do
what
what
I'm
it
saying.
takes.
Is
Do what
like,
it takes to make it look good to you.
yeah,
Include the things that you like.
yep,
Rip off all of your favorite stuff, and then keep going. And like get
Yeah.
back to me in 10 years and let me know if it worked or not.
yeah. Like don't look. I think like just don't look back. Like don't worry about what you're doing. Just do it. You know. Yeah, and that message comes up with you a lot. Like an ongoing message of yours, and you've talked about it in context to your like mentorships. Is you'll give your student like a task, and at the end of the week, if they don't love it, and you're like, "Fuck it, move on, next thing."
Yeah, next.
And like you have this very forward, like literally forward view on things, where it's just like, all right, it didn't work. Let's not dwell on it. Keep moving, and like rip your next artist. If you don't like it, what turned out, rip another. Like just keep going, and I think that's what is really refreshing. And,
Yeah, I mean, you think about this too. It's like what you choose to rip off will be a function of your originality and your intent. Like nobody's gonna like the fact that like there's a hat out there that what was it combines like fishing and Evangelion to make a baseball cap that just really nails Pete's sense of humor. Like it's like if you just choose what you want.
I don't know how they
you're-
sold so many of those fucking hats. It feels like somebody made it for me.
It does feel like a psyop where they're like manufacturing Pete's idiosyncratic humor in a product. But yeah, like if you like Pete said, it's like I'm gonna combine, because he feels like he's masterminding this new combination, but like anime and Beksinski, it's like, well, he just likes those things, and so if you pursue what you like enough for long enough, you're eventually gonna arrive at a unique combination of cool shit.
Yeah. And you do I think the main mistake that people make is they want to like find the right stuff because they don't want to be eating trash, right? They want to they're like, okay, well, who's the best artist that I can look to as inspiration? And like that's where you get into trouble. That's where you're chasing the ArtStation front page and looking like everybody else. If you want to develop a style, you need to let go of like this idea that there is like a better and a worse version of art, and you just gotta like what you like, even if it's trash. And,
yeah,
like,
I think
just be
one of the things I
unabashed
love
about it.
so much about this server is like I view everyone's, like if it's in their profile, I want to see their art.
Mm-hmm.
And like I found people with almost no followers that I'm like genuinely in love with their art, and I would have never found that shit on ArtStation or Pinterest. It's like it's dope.
Yeah. Also, what does good in ArtStation doesn't necessarily do good in market too, which is another thing.
Oh yeah, no. You take all the top artists at ArtStation, you stick them at an anime con, and see who walks away with $20,000, right? Like, it's not. There's no like fair judgment of any of this stuff. It's not like that sales are a great indicator of what's like real quality. It's not that like likes and subscribes on YouTube or Twitter or ArtStation are indications of quality. Like, it's all subjective because it's valuable to different people for different reasons. We get caught up, I think, sometimes because there's certain like the entertainment industry, concept art for like film and video games. That's like a career path. Like you can go and you can make 10 years worth of income if you like can if you're interested in like a particular type of art and you get enmeshed in a certain industry. So it's tempting to want to go like, well, I want to do high quality art so I can have a job in art. And then what is good is the stuff that like matches the taste of those industries, matches the needs of those industries. And then everything else is like worthless, right? But that presumes that like that industry represents like what you want to create. In a lot of cases, I think people are just feeling insecure about themselves financially, and they are willing to become flexible about their own taste for the sake of achieving some level of like financial stability through art.
And that's not to say that's a bad thing. Like, money's important, right?
But
Like,
the thing that makes me skeptical about that perspective is not that I think that they're like, denying authenticity, and authenticity is king. Like, I think that like a lot of what it takes to become accomplished in those industries is to create authentically as well. So I don't think that like foregoing your own sense of taste for the purpose of like getting attention in the concept art and like the video game and film industry is like a good path towards like financial stability as an artist. Like
I see what you're saying now.
So
okay.
I mean
You're saying,
we don't get to pick what we like. And so I really think that the best path for a lot of people to develop a market for their work, whether it's in the studio system or at conventions or online, that like it really still has to emanate from our interests and our personal sense of taste and what we really like, because when you try to set that aside for the sake of like the financial needs of others, like not others like your family, I mean like others like Bob Iger, like if you're worried about what you think is going to be popular in the next like Star Wars product or whatever, like you're probably going to do worse than the person who genuinely loves that shit. And when you give up on your own sense of taste and your own like personality for the sake of like trying to appease the perception of a market, I think most people end up behind. I think they hurt their chances of success across the board. And so
How?
Well, because
I mean, Louis Thomas Kincaid do it. Damn, he got bank.
Thomas Kincaid loved painting his cheesy ass like cabins and stuff, right? Like he loved making cheesy art. And so and then he noticed that like there was a financial opportunity for him to capitalize on the shared interest that he had with other people on this like cheesy topic that like was maybe maligned by popular culture, but he liked it. His fans liked it, and so he was able to make millions and millions of dollars at art by like marketing to that like shared interest. You don't need to like you don't need to be everyone's cup of tea. You just need to like develop a relationship with a particular either a fan base or gatekeepers that align with your personal sense of taste, which is in part, I think, the challenge of being authentic, but also being lucky, because you have to assume that there are other people who want the same thing as you, that like the same stuff as you.
Yeah, I think that's a really big thing to point out too, is that a lot of people who achieve quote unquote mega success, it's like look at somebody like Ross Draws. He won hard because his interest aligned with the market that allowed him to win in a big way.
Oh, he was also really smart about building video content at a time when it was like less crowded. And he did it at he was super interested in developing video content as somebody who really wanted to be on camera before having success as an illustrator. And so he had other skills that aligned with like the goal of success on YouTube prior to like becoming a big name. And so like I credit his interest in acting and filmmaking as being a major reason why he is the success that he is today. And
I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but it appears to me that he has a genuine love and interest for that kind of domain of business. And because of that,
totally.
He's
had that. Yeah, he's always had that. Like, it's not something that he's not cynically putting it on to succeed at YouTube. It was an alignment of multiple things that he was interested in.
Exactly.
Came together. This long chin thing might have to... Yeah, I'm going to shorten it a little bit. It's a little too much. There we go. Much better. So I've just been nudging shapes around and like finding things that look too messy to me and seeing if I can give them some level of clarity just on an abstract level. Like I've got this kind of like biomechanical look coming together here. Very just playing with shapes, not really thinking about ideas or concepts leading into it. When I'm doing my own concepts, I'm trying to make sure that it represents a particular idea. In this case, this is like a purely aesthetic exercise. So I'm just trying to find shapes and patterns and like silhouettes that I find aesthetically interesting and building them entirely in black and white. Like once I had that loose line drawing, it was like rough value block in, put in the background, do some really rough value blocking to give a sense of like dimension and lighting. And now it's just me like getting in there and carving things up smaller. Like I'm looking for opportunities to find and increase levels of symmetry, to build on the sense of lighting that I already have established, and to like see if I can create like aesthetic moments that just feel like an aesthetic win to me regardless of what it is representing. And that was my plan for today, and I'm feeling pretty good about how it's come together, because I've got this thing that like if somebody likes this same kind of aesthetic, they're gonna lose it when they see the thumbnail for this thing. They're gonna love that. But like if somebody's like, oh well, which angel is this? They're gonna be disappointed. I'm gonna be like, it's nothing. It's just a random cyber guy, So there's different ways in which a piece can be a success, and like today my definition of success was I wanted to have something that was aesthetically pleasing that I was going to do live from zero. And so I'm feeling like I've just won today. And I'm about an hour in, and so anything I do after this point, it feels like gravy, because like having a little bit of rendering on top of like a loose like aesthetic, it's like, yeah, it is exactly what I was hoping for. So anything I can do after this point, as long as I don't fuck it up, is going to count as like a win for the day.
Big dubs.
But yeah.
Man, you painted this in like...
It's fast, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like a little upset about it, but like also not, And
we got it on a VOD too, so you know what? Also, there's like a record of it. Anybody's gonna look at this. It's like, it's very like haphazard in terms of like anatomy and proportion, but it's got this like crispy aesthetic to it. Somebody's gonna be like, "That's AI," and I'll be like, "Check the VOD, asshole. Fuck you."
Hey, Pete, I have a question.
Sure.
Looking back to the work that you've created and some of the pieces that you feel like have come out the most successfully, or maybe your pieces at large, do you find that you started out with the idea of what the angel was going to be ahead of time, or did you work more like this, where you developed sketches that had and if it had a sort of nice read to it, then you kind of reverse engineered the angel on top of it to make it into a final piece?
For all the angels, I always started with like something conceptual first. Like I'm like, there has to be an idea that is like cool about, like, okay, well, what is fire like? What does fire do? What kind of design element is going to represent that concept metaphorically? And so I was always trying to conceive of a metaphorical element prior to starting, because like these kind of purely aesthetic exercises, no matter how much I liked them, as I brought them, like made them into a print or whatever, they never performed as well as the more conceptual stuff, which was a little encouraging, because it incentivized me to want to try to like build something that felt like it had real meaning behind it, as opposed to just being a collection of random shapes. And I think that's affected my perception of other people's art as well. So like when I think I'm looking at somebody who had an idea for a piece, I'm often more likely to enjoy it rather than something that is a purely aesthetic exercise. Because there's a lot of that in concept art that is like not actually conceptual, that it is, to me, just feels like an aesthetic exercise. And I look at it with less favor. I'm trying to figure out how to, it's always this like fucking like acrobatics exercise, this verbal acrobatics to try to avoid saying it's good or it's bad. Because it's not that it is good or bad. It's like, the truth is like, do I like it? Do I not like it? Like, is there a way to say I don't like it? Like, in a way that's more fair to the person who was making it? I'm always trying to challenge myself to speak like that, but like, boy, is it hard.
I feel like I like it and I don't like it is kind of like the bare truth of the matter. You could say it doesn't appeal to your aesthetics or it doesn't resonate with you.
Or like when I look at it, I don't find as much enjoyment. But the truth is, like, I look at it, I think it looks bad when people like, or I think it sucks when people don't, put something conceptual in it. It's all aesthetic, like.
Yeah.
But it's not true. It doesn't suck. Like, and plenty of people like it. Like, and they're right to like it. It's just that, like, it's not what I want out of the work. And
Right.
but it doesn't exist to serve me. So who cares if I like it or not? The same way I can say, I guess this is like the reverse side of the coin. Like, I can say, well, it doesn't matter if somebody's into it. Like, I'm going to make what I like, and then I'm going to find the people who feel the same way. Like, I'm going to look at something and say, it's not for me. And be accepting of it, because like the world does not need to exist to please me. There's so much in the world that I like I don't need to like count all the things that I hate.
Yeah, that is interesting though, because it's like I feel like when I work, if I'm working purely, not abstractly, but very much bottom up, where I'm working purely in terms of what looks good versus conceptually.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's something I like about it better, like just abstractly, because at some like working conceptually, I always have to sacrifice some degree of the freedom that allows me to make things look really nice in a really non-conceptual way. But like you said, it doesn't seem to resonate with people in the same way.
Yeah, but like the real win is like, okay, can you take, you have an idea, you're like, okay, well, what is like what is this character supposed to represent metaphorically, and like what kind of design element can I include that's going to tell that story? And then you find a moment where you're like, and then it's going to be a bunch of weird, wobbly, organic shit flying out of the back of them. And so you include the moment that is like the conceptual part, and then you include the part that's the purely aesthetic part. And you can do both of those in the same composition. They don't need to be mutually exclusive from each other. I find if I can build a composition that includes both of those things, I'm happiest, and they tend to do pretty well. Because it's not really like one or the other is better. It's just like, if I don't have anything conceptual about the image, if it's purely aesthetic, if it's just a vibe, then like there's nothing to cling on to. And like, it's understandable that people aren't going to like, it's not going to stick with them. It's not going to resonate with them. They're not going to like, when people really like a piece of art, they fold it into their fucking identity. They want to wear it, they want to own it, they want to have it around them. Like, when we're talking about sales, like, we're talking about people who aren't making art themselves in many cases, using your art to express their personal taste. And so, like, there needs to be something about it that really sticks with them. And like, yeah, there's aesthetics that do that to a degree, but like, people require more in a lot of cases. I mean, this is the problem with a lot of AI art, is that it's really good at the aesthetics stuff, really poor at the conceptual part in most cases.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just why this, being mostly aesthetic and not at all conceptual, reads a little bit like AI art. Now we've got this like term for what that is, what that looks like.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. Definitely. Because it is like, because AI definitely isn't afraid to sacrifice concept for that little bit of yummy detail.
But it doesn't have any idea of the concept. It's not like, well, this is what the nighttime feels like to me. It's just like looking through a big library of images that are tagged nighttime and being like, is there a mathematical like association between the patterns of pixels in these various images on like a purely mathematical level? It's like, yeah, okay, but that's not an idea. It's not a point of view. It's not a expression, and that's like, if you trying to get a real idea, a real expression into an AI prompt in a way that like comes out the other end intentionally is like really, really hard. With a pure text prompt, it's almost impossible. It's one of the reasons why like that a lot of the work is sort of so lacking in terms of like kind of impact and staying power, because like it's got this super high fidelity, crunchy aesthetic, but it doesn't have the thing that is like the part that actually sticks with a lot of people about art, which is like what it represents, which is something we're not practicing today. You know, I wanted to doing that kind of thing is like is really challenging. It's mentally draining. It requires focus. I can't do it while I'm talking, which is the reason I never ever do it on stream. I could barely do it when I'm maintaining focus, to be honest. Yeah, what were we saying, Ace?
Is there anything that you owe your artistic development to? It could be as simple as like a sleep schedule or whatever. Like, is there anything?
I think stoicism, right?
Yeah. It was my practice of stoic juggling.
Oh.
Yeah. No, the I think it's just me. I'm making a lot of stuff from imagination and just trying to like figure out what that thing is that like, you know, my process of development wasn't study. It was making several thousand original drawings while I was supposed to be doing something else. Like, I don't know if this is insightful or just coincidence, but like a huge amount of my personal work, especially like my most iconic pieces at the time they were made, were done during a time when I was supposed to be doing something else. Like, I discovered during college that like all of my best pieces were being done during finals week because I was avoiding my homework by making paintings, and they were just purely for me because they were an escape. And like this came up during one of the portfolio reviews where it's like, hey, this piece is really good and you spent a ton of time on it. What were you doing at the time? Being like, oh, I was having a major medical crisis. Like, the trick is trying to figure out how to do it when you're not, you know, using it as a way of getting away from reality. Like, there's a big part of art that is like an excellent escape. And so like when you are doing it simply for the experience of doing it and like using it to get away from the rest of the world and like, you know, really just descend into your own brain, like it can get really good during those times. But like there's not like a plan to like hustle towards that. Like, I had so much of that for so many of my like years in like high school and college. I wanted to get away from myself so much, so often during that part of my life that I made a lot of drawings. Like it was the only thing in my life that was like, you know, giving me satisfaction and, you know, approval. Like, so I did it a lot. So it's just like, you know, what are you going to do? You're going to plan to have art be a cope? You're going to be like, I'm going to ruin my social life and I'm going to like be like difficult to be around. And then in order to feel less lonely, I'm going to make art. Like, it's not a plan. Like, you have to, this is one of the reasons why I think trying to make art as like part of a trade school is like tough. Like, because it's like, people make art for a lot of reasons. And like, for me, like the time when I was developing the most was really, the reason was really like to try to like get some sort of level of control in my life.
Interesting. Alright.
So if I like get addicted to crack, will that make me a better?
Yeah, you just need to like, yeah. So step one to get really good at art: smoke crack.
Okay.
No, weed is better. Not
Well, yeah, like there's plenty of artists that smoke a lot of weed, but I don't think drugs actually help. I think it's drugs make it really hard to make art.
It's the desperation, not the drugs themselves.
Yeah.
No. A lot of artists like when they do drugs, usually they go in a mode where they like drawing and drawing and drawing and drawing like a crazy person.
Yeah. I don't know. Not. It depends. It depends on the person. But the yeah, I had people ask me for a while, like, "Oh my God, do you do this kind of drug or whatever?" Just because I was making sort of surrealist art, and I'm like, no, like, it doesn't. That's like not the point. The point, it's like, this is not a. I mean, I guess it's like, you know, it comes from like an internal space, right? Like it's but it's not like I need to like. I don't think you need to do drugs to like imagine things, or like. I don't even necessarily imagine things that look like this. I just like to find them on the page. And like unless I'm really with it mentally, it's like hard to do this much like brain power, like activate this much brain power. You know? Like trying to like do this while you're on something is really hard. Wouldn't recommend it.
Somebody asked like Dan Warren once if he's like ever tried doing gesture drawings while drunk, and his response was pretty funny. It was just like, have you ever tried to do something really bad because your brain wasn't working properly at the time? That's pretty much what you just asked.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, sometimes you wonder, like, I wonder if I would be better at this if I just loosened up a little bit. The answer is no. Be like, yeah, I would drive better if I could just loosen my shoulders up a little bit. You know, I drive better on 1 or 2 beers. Yeah. It's like, it's just as dumb as it sounds coming out of your mouth.
Yeah, the best artists never did drugs.
I don't know. Like, I think the best artists are all trying to get something out of art that is hard to get in other ways. Like, art is a unique kind of practice. It's like you know, you get pleasure from it. It feels good to make art. But, like, why do you need to get the same stimulus over and over and over again? You're going to be doing art for, what, 10 years? 20 years? 50 years? Like, you really want to keep getting the same positive stimulus over and over and over again for that whole time? It's a little weird. Kind of a weird choice.
I agree. But is it the same stimulus? Is it like the same?
There's a few different modes of making art. I think there's different stimulus at different times. But, you know, I think I get a lot of the same good vibes out of making art that I did back when I was in, you know, first getting started with it, first learning. And I'm just like, yeah, keep giving me more of that. Like, there's no point where I'm like, I think I've had enough art. I don't think I'm ever going to do this again. And I don't imagine there's a time in my life where that's ever going to happen. I'm always going to want to be coming back to this feeling.
Like it's kind of the best. It's hard to give up the best.
Yeah, it's excellent. And like, the case I keep trying to make to people who want to learn art, I'm like, you should get in here. This shit's pretty good. Like, it sucks a little bit at first. You know, you feel bad because you suck at drawing. Like, you have high expectations for yourself you can't fulfill, you know, when you first get started. But it goes places.
Yeah, one of the things I like about it too is that it's good, but you can also keep doing it in a way that it keeps feeling good. Like, part of the things that I like about art is that there's always things to learn, and so you can always kind of be bad at it, which is fun. And I think this is something that you talked about too when you started studying again, Pete, where like to learn to go back to this state where you're learning all the time. Like, there's not a lot of, I feel like, if you have a practice where you can always kind of be a student and always be bad at it and always be looking forward to something to be better at.
Yeah, you don't just always get a feeling of positive improvement. You also get the feeling of being like, the feeling of like you're not good enough all the time too. Like, you never reach full mastery. And so you're always oscillating back and forth between feeling like you're not good enough and that you're really good.
Yeah, and I think that's what keeps the game interesting. Because if it was all wins 24/7, I think it would get boring.
Yeah. Yeah, if you get too comfortable and you're not challenging yourself, it can get boring. But there is always an opportunity to go back to like feeling like you are just getting started. It's easy to like make art in a way that you suck at it. And then it's also always possible to feel like you're getting better at it. And it's so time consuming that like you never like you're always going to be like it's like a hobby that can fill up like tremendous amounts of time. Like, you know, you're not like, oh, I put 100 hours into art, you know, I think that's about all I'm going to get out of it. You know, 10,000, 20,000 hours in, you're like, oof, I better put in some hours this week.
There have been a couple times where I've like wanted to quit art because I don't know, I just get, you know, caught up in my negative emotions or whatever. But every time, my life's just like so empty without it because it's so time consuming that I'm just like,
yeah, what are you supposed to do with your time? You're gonna watch more
Yeah.
sports? Like, what the fuck? What do you do? What do people do? I don't understand what people do with their time. Like, because
Yeah.
if I try to take time off of art, I just watch more television.
yeah, I just like play, you know, like 200 hours of Monster Hunter and then I start to get kind of bored of it. It's like,
I feel like I'm kind of being caught out right now.
what?
What do-
Just
What do people do? I don't understand. I don't understand people under the best of times. But then when the question comes up of like, what do you do with your time? And it's like, dude, like if you're not spending time creatively making something, like what is taking up 24 hours in the day? I don't
I think
understand.
you're just getting distracted with like other. Okay, because like, you know, I want to learn art and programming, but
Well, like if somebody's
just-
programming or they are making music or like, you know, even like building a company, like anything creative, starting like building something from scratch, regardless of the medium, I get it. But like there are so many people that don't have anything, and I go like, man, you gotta
wait, are you?
like I don't get that person. I don't get that mindset. I think those people need to get something.
Wait, I didn't get the full context, but are you trying to say like, did someone say like, oh, I want to like do this, but I'm like, I don't have time for it, or like,
Well, I just
I
don't know
feel
what
like-
people spend their time on if they have no creative pursuits.
oh, you're just talking about like things they like to do, or,
Yeah, like what do you do with the day?
oh, okay. I thought someone was like saying, oh, I get distracted and I end up not doing anything. That was
Yeah.
a conversation.
'Cause,
Yeah, well,
like,
avoidance is certainly one thing, but I think he's talking about the people who just don't.
they don't have anything to start with. They don't.
No, that's strange.
They don't have anything. Like I guess you work, you watch TV, you get into sports. I think a lot.
Yeah.
My
But
guess
see,
is
if
my
they're
guess it's
happy
mostly
doing that,
sports.
then maybe we're the suckers.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe we're the nerds. Maybe we're the losers.
Are we possibly the nerds? I mean, that's been my suspicion for a long time. But I mean, a lot of people I know, they have like a thing. They have a thing that they make or that they do. I just don't understand. Like in some cases, I know people that are like, they have really tough financial situations and they have to work like until they're basically dead, and that they like are all their hours go towards like labor for money. And like that's a bummer. Like I get that. But like if you have like a steady gig and then you don't have anything creative, like maybe it's drinking. Maybe it's just like maybe it's just sports and drinking.
I mean, some people really do like their drinking.
They do like sports
know
and drinking.
a couple people who like don't do anything creative, and yeah, for the most part, it's just like watch TV all the time.
Sports, drinking, television. I think that's like all. I'm not sure what is like. And some people are really into like fitness. I get that. Like, or they're like really into hiking. They like get out of the house a lot. That sounds good.
Yeah, you can't fitness all day though. Your body starts to fall apart after a couple weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, I was listening to one like fitness influencer talk about, oh yeah, during the pandemic I just ran for 4 hours a day. I was like, yo, it's a lot. There you go.
I don't know. I have two interests, and I already know the resources. I already have the things right to like start learning and doing it. But like, does anyone here just struggle like on getting started with it?
Yep.
Because one thing is not having these interests, another thing is having them and having like the resources ready.
You talking about like starting on like
And
art
just getting
projects,
started,
or-
because sometimes like you're just like, man, I didn't sleep much. I don't really feel like doing this one thing. But like
Yeah,
at the
yeah,
same time, for the sakeness of like staying on top of it, you should. Like, anyone relate?
Oh yeah, I think everybody relates on some level.
yeah,
So
yeah.
how
No,
do
I
y'all
get that.
through
I get that.
How do y'all get through it though? Like, I didn't sleep much, or I'm just not feeling it today. Because not everything should be dependent on motivation.
At when you get to that point, it's just about like you just gotta do it.
I
Yeah.
think there's ways to like making the thing you want to do a really easy habit to do. Like the less friction there is between you and the thing you want to do, you're going to do it. One of the reasons that TikTok is, for example, is so addictive is because they like the golden rule of Silicon Valley is to remove the friction between the desire and the behavior. And so it's like if you have like pencils out and a drawing station out and ready to go, and all you have to do is sit down, versus going downstairs and setting up a lamp and taking things out of a drawer and doing stuff like that. It's going to make it a lot easier for
That's
you
one of the
to.
things I love about digital art is it's just like I sit down at my workstation and it just always works. Like there's no charge. Like the pen works without charging, and like the tablet's always sitting there in front of the PC. Photoshop takes 2 seconds to boot up. It's like frictionless to just like jump in and start working on something, especially if I've done a sketch or a whip.
Yeah, for me, I just like I almost like I hope I don't know. I want to try starting art again. I like had 2 weeks where I was like really into it, and I was like I just still couldn't output anything that I liked, and then and I got caught up with my other project. But like hopefully after this is done, I'll get back into it. I don't know.
I mean, you do painting and stuff. Like you do mini painting. Like
Yeah, I'm on a break from that right now. Like I was saying, I built a kind of a shitty like relationship with it. Yeah, I don't know. Like I would like to paint, but I don't want to just paint other people's shit. I want to paint my shit, and I can't make my own thing because I'm like a terrible drawer. And that's a terrible hurdle to get over because
no, that's just normal.
Yep.
That's default.
I still feel that. I've been drawing for 10 years. There's projects I don't want to do because, like, what if I do them bad? That feeling's never gonna go away.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, like I can paint, I can't draw. Like the idea of like sitting down to draw something and waiting and trying to get it right sounds like a horrendous process. When
that sounds like me sitting down to draw every time.
Yeah, I guess
that's the default state.
Yeah. If it's not the default, then something is probably wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's like the Dunning-Kruger effect is like getting you or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like sitting down, you're like, man, this experience is always awesome. I'm great.
Yeah, it was kind of like what Pete was saying even in the stream. He had an intention. He sat down with a non-guarantee that he would reach his goal, but he hunted for it, and he managed to find it this stream, which is gratifying. But I think it's
there was part of the gratification of me going like, hey, I got a good drawing this stream is like there was a real chance of failure that I was just gonna sit down in front of 100-something people and just totally shit the bed in public. Especially like in front of people who like think that I know what I'm doing, and be like just be bad at what the thing I'm supposed to be good at in a public setting. So much worse than like you sitting down to do a personal project in your spare time and feeling like you're not good.
Dude, if Broco can recover from the kangaroo, anyone can recover from anything.
Come on, don't kick him. Don't kick him for the kangaroo.
So it's just so funny. I can't help it.
He tried his best.
He did. He did. It's also like legendary. I mean, I wish anything I did were as famous as that kangaroo.
I should maybe do a fan art of that. I've been thinking about doing some fan arts on the stream, like of popular Twitch streamers, like the ones
Oh, good thinking.
Twitch personalities I like, and see if I can get a shout out, and like have some fun doing it. Do like and then I could also do like I could do other meme stuff on here too, which again gives some direction to like what I'm working on. Do elevated kangaroo.
Yeah, I feel if anyone can do like a cool version of that kangaroo, it's you.
Anyone really? I don't know. We'll see. I can give it a shot.
Oh, there's other people too, but like.
We
you're
could do
definitely one
that
of the
as a
most
community
ones.
challenge one week. Is to like everybody's got to figure out a way of trying to make the kangaroo as good as possible.
Ooh woo, you're so kawaii, Kangaroo Chan.
Yeah, figure out. Is there a way to turn the kangaroo into an anime girl?
Probably.
Oh, there's always a way.
there's always a way.
I have a question.
Yes.
For whenever you get to a painting and you get to that ugly phase, like how do you push through that? Because I feel like I've been hitting that roadblock and I'm like, I just scrap it and scrap it and scrap it. And I've seen so many videos like just push through, it'll be ugly for at least most of the middle. Like, how do you guys get over that?
Ugly phase. Yeah, I was in the ugly phase last night on my painting I was working on. And I was doing it live on Discord, and everyone was like, "Wow, it's so incredible, like what you're doing." And I'm like, I'm struggling bad. Like I don't know how to solve this, and I'm feeling self-conscious because I'm not sure how long it's going to take before I have a path out. And I never give up on a painting during the ugly phase because it's just like the challenge of trying to figure out what's wrong with a piece and like getting it to a point where you can finish it. It always feels like an essential part of the art experience to me. Like, I don't know. It's not just like the desire to want to complete the thing. I think the more we talk about this, the more that I'm convinced that there's like one of the essential experiences of being an artist is like struggle and feeling like you're failing and demotivated. And I don't think that removing that feeling is the desired is the outcome you're looking for.
Right. It's just part of the artist experience.
Yeah, I mean, I think accepting failure is like an essential part of like what it means to like be working on art ever. Like that
Valid,
discomfort of not knowing whether or not a drawing is going to be any good, or like whether or not you're going to exit out of like the ugly phase, like all of that is essential to making the thing.
You just gotta let David Goggins scream at you in a rainstorm.
Yeah.
About getting hit in the dick with lightning.
Yeah, full Goggins mode. I don't know. I mean, if it's like honestly, I suspect that if you are, it's sometimes really difficult to tell like what exactly is happening in the middle of a creative process. It might not be that specifically. Like your definition of what ugly phase is, or like what is happening with you mentally during that point, may not be the experience that other artists are talking about when they're talking about like working through the ugly phase. So like I wouldn't take it as granted that you are sharing an experience with an artist who's going through the ugly phase of their painting. It might be something a little bit more complex, like that you are leaping into a phase of your work early before you've worked out the earlier steps, and that is causing you to get stuck in a way that's almost impossible to pass. I know that was like true for me a lot when I was first learning, was that like I would jump ahead too quickly, and then 1 out of 10 times it wouldn't be a problem. I'd just get lucky. And the 9 out of 10 times I would get really stuck and I have a hard time finishing my work. And then like once I got a little bit more comfortable with my process and I knew whether or not I was ready to move to the next steps, I was able to more reliably finish pieces because I was no longer getting trapped at like an intermediate step in the middle of a painting. So it wasn't so much the ugly step. It was a matter of like, In some cases, making sure that my values were worked out and were working effectively, or that my drawing was solid before I committed to it. And like, it was probably different on a painting by painting basis. It wasn't like a single thing I was screwing up across the board. So it's like, it's really difficult to give actionable advice when it comes to these topics, because it's often different like from person to person about what is actually like failing and why. But I would presume that your idea of what you think that you're messing up is probably wrong, and presume that you do not understand the problem. If you can attack it from that perspective, I think you might have an easier time. If you think you know what it is that you're struggling with, but you still can't get it, you might be wrong. You might be struggling with something that you don't have a name for, or that you don't recognize what it is.
This Pete was like giving me the same advice last week on a painting that I was like stuck in the ugly phase on for like 12 hours straight or something ridiculous. And like I kept thinking like, oh no, Pete's not right. I bet if I just keep picking at these like shadow shapes more, it'll look better. It turned out my values were fucked. It was like a foundational step.
And the reason why you were having trouble with your values was because the drawing was a little wobbly, and the drawing was wobbly because you committed to a loose thumbnail without working out the problems first. It's like a chain that went all the way back to the thumbnail.
Like, got stuck twice.
You jumped ahead too fast at like literally every step, and they were like fine, but because you didn't know where to go with it, then you're like found yourself, deep into the process and beginning to struggle deeply. Like,
the other thing I've been kind of experiencing lately too, I've been sharing my art lately, like way more than I ever have in the past, and I always get super anxious about showing stuff, especially that I've like spent a long time on, and I feel like it's gonna be bad. I feel like no one's gonna like it or whatever, but nobody notices like the stuff I don't like about it a lot of the time. And I've also been experiencing people have been asking me for feedback on their art. And like, I take a glance at it, and immediately I'm like, "Oh, this has so much stuff that's like awesome about it," right? And I'll start gushing, and I'm like, "I don't get why this person wants help. This is like good." And I have to like look at it for a long time before I start to like notice problems. I wonder if like part of the reason artists are so hard on themselves is just they spent 80 hours staring at this thing, and they also know what it used to look like, and how much they like struggled at it and whatnot, and like. The idea that it's bad has a lot of like emotional resonance to it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make that true.
Yeah.
Like,
no, we're terrible. Like, self-assessment is really hard under the best circumstances, and like, there's nothing special about artists that makes us good at it. So it's like, yeah, it's one of those things. Like, we're just generally really bad at self-assessing, like, as to like what's causing problems with ourselves, and then also like whether or not we're doing something well. I found it's valuable to just let other people be the judge of the work rather than like worrying about self-judgment too heavily.
Your stuff's probably not as ugly as you think it is. Pete was going on about his stuff being ugly, and Pete, that painting was not ugly when you were painting it.
That painting sucks ass. It's one of my worst ones. One of my worst paintings ever. Well, not ever, but like one of the worst paintings in like the current collection for sure.
This isn't me just like trying to comfort you or whatever. Genuinely, every painting I see from you is just like a Peter Mohrbacher painting, and like none of them are like substantially worse.
Well, I can tell you some of them sell substantially worse. Like there are, and that some of them get substantially fewer likes on social media. Like there's a degree in which they like succeed or fail on certain metrics. Like they're all, you could be like, oh, I can't judge them, they're like my kids, but like there are also, I also have to be a business owner and like know what is or is not successful along like, I try to make every piece like the way I want it at the moment when I'm working on it, but then I also have to acknowledge whether or not it's succeeding along like the criteria that are laid out for it.
Yeah, I mean, like I have my paintings of yours that are like my favorites or whatever, but they're not my favorites because like the technique is better or whatever.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
actually my favorites because like, you know, like the one with the goat is actually like one of my favorites I've seen from you, but it's my favorite, like one of my favorites I've seen from you because the dude is handsome, his outfit is cool, and he has like an animal with him.
Yeah.
And like you put those things in a painting and it automatically makes me like it like 20% more.
Right.
I just like the goat.
Yeah, it's like that's why I was saying like images that have a conceptual aspect to them, like that are of something, are usually better received than paintings that are just like a bunch of weird wobbly lines, even if they're very aesthetic.
Yeah.
But yeah, like choosing what to draw because of your own sense of taste is really important too. It's like I wouldn't ever recommend people draw something because they're like, oh, foxes are really popular, I should draw one of those.
The only animals you need to draw are goats.
I'm at about 2 hours. I could call it here. Thanks so much for all the new people who are popping in. Cody Shibi, glad you dig it. Dustin's asking, are there ones that sell worse, but you think they're better paintings? Absolutely. Like, there are times where I'm like, oh, this one's a banger, and like I go to like make it for sale, and like nobody wants it, and I'm like, all right, well, doesn't mean it's a bad painting, just means that nobody wants it on their walls or whatever, or like it doesn't hit with other people the way it hits with me, so it's fine.
Which ones are those ones, just out of curiosity?
Like, let me see if I can pull. Like, I always thought this one was really cool, and I've had people like copy it technique-wise. Like, I thought it was really good with what I did with like these weird abstract textures and sort of, it's a unique, interesting, surrealist piece, but like it sold terribly as a print. Like right off the bat, the emanations were like,
Yeah, I love that piece. Well, I wonder it's what you said too, where that piece is more like it's less conceptual and more abstractly satisfying.
Yeah.
And I mean, I love that piece, but I can see why.
You like the guy with the goat. I thought this painting was a really good one in terms of it being very romantic. Very romantic style, very dynamic. I thought it was very cool. Like, I got company reached out to me to like do like a mini of this painting, and like, but I was like, when I did it, I was like, damn, this one I did a lot of cool shit on it. I did it exactly. I got everything in it that I wanted storytelling wise, and I think aesthetically it was like really strong. And I had an easy time painting it. I painted it super fast. It was like just insanely easy. So I was like, this is a good one. I got a banger. And then I took it out to sell it, and it was like just bottom tier sales wise.
What?
Yeah.
Dude, I actually mean it. Like this is like top 3 for me. Like the one with the dude with the one hand and the crazy flowy hair and stuff.
Yeah. Like the top selling paintings aren't necessarily things you would think of. Like this one is one of my top 5 easily. Even though it's like,
that's a good one.
It's like it's got a really bold color palette, and like it's very dynamic and energetic, and it's kind of mysterious, those are all like very like strong qualities. But it's like not of a thing that people would say like, oh, everyone loves crab people. Like a giant handsome crab guy is not like what you would, if you were trying to commission an artist to make the most sellable piece of work they could come up with. This is not what you would describe to try to make like a lot of sales. This one is another one that's like always been a major mainstay for me. Mm-hmm. I use this a lot when I'm trying to show off my work because I think that like this intersects with what I think is good and things that I thought were really clever, but also people really, really like it.
Seen some badass 3D models of that guy.
one of the most popular paintings, maybe the most popular piece I've ever done is this one, which was like, this character was originally like the worst and least popular angel in the original collection of 12 back in like 2006. And so I didn't bother remaking it for like 9 years. And then when I did it, I was just like, zero expectations. And it's not particularly dynamic. It's not like a type of figure that you would think of as being popular. It's not like super cool or sexy, but something about like the concept of like a huge figure stepping out over a planet where like the clouds barely come up to their ankles is like, I think, enough to like shoot it to the top of the rankings. And it's mysterious, which is another very strong quality. And it's just ambiguous enough that I think that people like put their own ideas into it. So, and then I think like it's got this mystical quality, which people who like my art generally also like. And so this represents sort of like more mystical feel than average, on top of it being like an interesting kind of concept for the background. I feel like I got really lucky with this because that wasn't like a plan for a background. I was just like trying to figure out what to do, and I kind of felt like as I was doodling, I could kind of see something like this in it. And then it like, you know, I was like, okay, I feel this is pretty good. And then it turned out to be like my best seller ever. I'm like, it didn't feel like I have any input in that. I really like this painting, but it's never sold well. I just thought I managed to pull off a kind of like pose, like the feeling of weightlessness that I want to depict often. I feel like I got it really accomplished here, and also I did weird color stuff that I felt like I managed to get away from a lot of my worst habits in terms of color and do like a color palette that I was really proud of. It has an interesting balance of like rest and complex areas. It shows off some of my stylistic flourishes in their best possible way, and it's got a little bit of storytelling to it. And yet, like, so I brought this out, and I thought this was going to be a big seller, and it just did all right, did fine. Never really like carried itself, you know. So, whatever. If somebody were to critique it in isolation, they might be like, well, it doesn't really have a personality. It doesn't have a face. Like, it should, maybe if you gave it a little more personality in the face, like it would be a better seller. But then it's like, but this guy is the best seller. So how do you put those in contrast with each other?
Oh, that's totally weird. Cause like, I mean, like all your art's good, but like if I had to rank them, like I would probably put that Istivus like towards the bottom, just in terms of like my taste. And I'd probably put I forget his name, but like the dude with the one hand and the scimitar or whatever would be like right at the top.
Yeah, and it's also
That's
changed
just...
over time. Like back in the day, like a lot of my stuff was more like what do you call it? Was more like dark and moody and like more gamer like, and then it got a little bit more fine art. And so back in the day when everything was very moody, like gaming art, more exclusively, this was the top piece. This was like the most popular piece in the collection. So because it was like exemplifying dark, moody, angsty vibes. And so this was like the pinnacle of that brand. But as the brand shifted, this one dropped in the rankings tremendously. So it wasn't even a matter of like, it certainly has never been a matter of technique, but like, I think what happens is that people look at the collection as a whole and say, oh, do I like this person's art or not? Do I like this brand or not? And then they start asking themselves, okay, well, which pieces in it exemplify the things I like about the work the most? And so as the collection creates a context for each individual piece, like which ones end up being most popular shift. So if like the brand continues to shift, and change directions and change audiences, like with older pieces might start to become more popular, you know, or like, you know, it totally depends. I always really liked this guy. You know, I just really liked the vibe of him. I liked the style a lot. Open a new tab. That's what I wanted. I thought that it exemplified a certain vibe and a mood that I was really into, and there was a lot of like aesthetic flourishes that I really liked about this piece. And like conceptually, I like it's the Angel of Time. I think that's like a really powerful concept. And this idea of like the Angel of Time being this like strange abstract figure that's like permanently on fire, I always thought was really cool. And like it never sold. Like, and then I did another one of them, and like nobody cared about that one either. And again, it's like stylistically, I love doing clouds like this. I love the lighting like this. I like the construction on like the body and the arm, and it exemplifies like a certain style that I really like to make. And I felt like looking back on it, I'm proud of the work, but it's not a significant part of the collection. Like if fans don't want it, which I'm like, okay, sure, I guess. Like, I don't get to pick. So it's pretty common that like my taste and my reasons for liking stuff diverge from other people.
Yeah.
And like, this piece to me was like me kind of shifting the direction of like, I felt like it was taking the aesthetic in a direction that I aspired to go into, but like hadn't ever accomplished before. And I was very happy with it, and it did okay, but it wasn't like a big success. Not like this, which is like a piece I put on my banners because it sells the idea that the whole thing is about angels, and because it's got a silhouette that reads like a traditional angel, but it's also fits with the rest of the series and is a little weird. So I use it as like a marketing image because it tells the story of what I'm trying to make. And so it's really not a question of like what is a good image or a bad image. It's like what's effective at doing its job of selling the concept of like the overall collection. And yeah, I don't know. There's so many moments looking through here where I'm like, I really like enjoy like weird, dumb things that I'm trying out. Like this was the clouds in the background here were like based off of Rene Magritte, and I keep trying to put Magritte quotes in like various different images, and nobody likes those. Like classic surrealism doesn't go well. People want something that feels a little less organized, I think. Yeah,
Man, it's really weird how like you have opinions on your own stuff, your audience as a whole has opinions on your own stuff, and then I have my own opinions, and none of them match. Like there's some overlap, but they're like the opposite.
Yeah. And that's true of everyone's work. Like you don't get to pick what other people. You don't get to like choose the way that you're received. You can put your best foot forward and like be your authentic self as much as you want, but like no one. You don't get to pick whether or not people are going to see you the way that you want to be seen. Sometimes magic happens and people do see you exactly the way that you want to be seen, and like it's this special magical connection, but oftentimes it's not. And like that's the default. Like that's most people who are ever going to see your work are not going to see the things that you're putting into it and the reasons why you care. And like what we're hunting for as artists, I think in a lot of cases, as like the just those few times where the connection does happen, and to like foster that and like carry it. I'm looking at this and thinking of all these things that I would like to experiment with this if I were to go back and redo it. But I also think all the little changes I would make, I don't know if it would add up to the point where people would feel differently about this painting at all. So it's like a silly thought to go back and do a remaster.
Funny about this one to me is it reminds me of that like classic painting of like it's like the two farmers standing there and one's holding like a pitchfork or whatever.
Yeah, American Gothic. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like a weird surrealist dude. But his like head kind of like makes me chuckle myself.
But that's the thing is I would absolutely like to do like I love quoting to like, classical art stuff. So doing a Angelarium version of American Gothic is exactly like, or like I was saying that Magritte, I mean, the whole thing with the organized clouds is like, everyone recognizes this guy's work. It's got that same kind of straight-on, semi-sterile vibe to it. And I think it's really powerful. I think it leaves a really strong impression. And that's like what I want, is to like the feeling I get when I look at a Magritte painting. I want to instill that in somebody else. But so I'm trying to like just borrow the aesthetic and see how it feels when I try it on myself. But I don't know if I like I'm going to wear it the same way that he wore it, and if like how to get the most out of it, because it's not my thing that I came up with. But maybe my interpretation of it is going to reach a different person in a way that's like going to be more powerful than what Magritte's. That's a mid-journey version of it. But like, there's a chance that like my interpretation of like this artist's work would reach somebody like more effectively than the original does, just because I have a different perspective and I have a different hand than he does. So I'm not overly worried about the idea that I'm gonna like do it right or wrong, but I do get charged up to want to make more art when I look at stuff like this, and I think about like trying to repeat some of these successes in my own way. Sounds really appealing. Gives me a lot of inspiration to want to go and start a brand new painting built off of some of these ideas. But I think I'm just about done with this today. I'm going to maybe throw a gradient map on here to see if it throws some last minute color on this bad boy, and then call it a day. Throw it in the
Got a new
sketchbook.
sub.
Thread. Got a new sub. Thank you. Oh, Matsuya Das, who was on the the community thread, the community stream on Friday. Thank you so much. All right, so let's see what we got in terms of gradients. This one's been my absolute favorite recently. This one keeps doing exactly what I want out of a gradient map. And it's just got this kind of like warm-cool relationship, which I can build on pretty dynamically with like other stuff on top of it. So it makes me want to use it over and over again. Ooh, this one is always really good for concept art, because I always end up sort of overworking my halftones when I'm painting, and then this thing like helps undo the damage. So it always gives like a little bit more of a dimensionality and like naturalism to the lighting. So let's do both of them and see what happens.
We should all make Peter Mohrbacher painting tier lists.
No, terrible idea.
Yeah.
I'm gonna kick you out of this chat if you say shit like that again. I have the power here. I can prevent that from happening. Oh, yeah, gradient maps are so great. Like the first time you start to play around with them on a new image, it's like you get to look through the multiverse of possibilities color-wise. Bunch of weird, cool little ideas pop in. Or even just little subtle treatments like this. Gradient map tutorial, add a list of ideas. That's a good one. I'll write it down. I absolutely have to do a gradient map tutorial for the YouTube channel. All right. And so I've got a little bit of a color grade going here, and then we can start to separate things even further by starting to do some glazing. I love my hard light for glazing. So let's say we're going to do a cool background, so maybe just some teal. I've already got kind of an orange and teal going. It's a little on the blue side. Go a little further green. There we go. Maybe a little darker. Then the hard light's also really good at creating local colors. So if I wanted to add in some like orangey browny tones to like this like cloak thing he's got, instant color, and then it gives me these like saturated color pops where we end up transitioning to a shadow, which is exactly what I want most of the time. Though I'm not going to color through the whole shadow because then I end up with this like overly saturated core shadow, which is not what I'm looking for. Just want it at the transitions. You can do a little bit of material separation here by making some of these things like orangey. It's really just warm and cool is going to like separate out the materials into different zones. And we could even go a little bit bolder with it if we wanted. In terms of making some local colors, like a little bit more specific. So you like, one of the things I like about hard light is when you hit it with a really saturated color, it'll affect the values on there. You see it'll darken the values quite a bit when I start adding this red, because the saturated colors tend to sort of like obliterate the values a bit, which I think does a nice job mimicking the natural behavior of color.
Oh man, yeah, that's a rabbit hole. Like a value relationship between colors and materials. That's
yeah. Well, I feel like that's one of the reasons I use hard light so much is because I feel like it imitates it in a way that's like generally pretty natural.
Yeah.
So I'm able to like get a lot of mileage out of that without having to actually know my facts too well.
What I hadn't considered actually, something you just said though, is like, and I guess I've done it, but I've never really thought about it. With like a color like red, I'll just like work the value or the volumes all the way up as normal, and then I'll glaze in red. Red is a color I glaze in more often than not, mainly because there's like issues with like IRL acrylic paints working into like a lighter red, which takes it to pink, which is like a huge problem. So you end up glazing in the red anyways. So, but yeah, it does like adjust the value relative to the color fairly like easy on its own when you just glaze it in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a good, yeah. It's something I've done. I never really thought about it.
Yeah, glazing digitally, like you need to use a blending mode to be able to get glazing to work right, because if you just go semi-opaque, it doesn't actually mimic the way that like pigment spreads out.
Yep. Yeah, these are the things I'm like interested in learning as I paint more, but I really want to draw. I really want to learn how to draw first, but maybe I should just like paint and do things I enjoy, and maybe just take people's line art and just paint on it.
I think you just quit being
bitching.
Just quit bitching about it and just draw. Just draw bad. Draw bad like the rest of us. That's how it's done.
Hey, Jay. I had like a huge the thing you're like struggling with right now is like the #1 hurdle I've had to overcome in terms of like getting better at drawing and stuff is to just like summon up the courage to like do creative stuff and just sort of like put my my heart and soul on the line or whatever, right? Like you don't want to do anything that like matters where you like care about the outcome, especially when you're like not very sure of your like skills or whatever. The thing that worked really well for me just to get started was to like, okay, I'm just gonna suffer for an hour, right? Like if you want to paint like an awesome goat man or whatever, or like Nipples the vampire, like just give yourself like an hour to do the best job you can. And however it turns out is however it turns out. After you've done your hour, you've suffered enough, you can like stop thinking about it or whatever.
And then I have like we're looking at it too, right? Like it doesn't just really stop there.
Nope, you can like hide it away, never have to look at it again if you don't want to. Although I recommend saving them in chronological order because you'll get to see like the improvement over the years and
Yeah.
hell, improvement over the days.
Yeah, especially early
Yeah,
on. I
like
mean,
spreading
you
out.
should be able to
Yeah.
notice an improvement within a single month, pretty dramatically.
Yeah. All right. Next time I have time. This is middle of the week is hella fucking busy for me.
Also, some percentage of them will just accidentally turn out awesome, and then
Yeah.
you'll be like really excited about them.
Yeah. Yeah, you're always pulling a slot machine handle whenever you start a drawing. I mean, that's what I was doing at the beginning of the stream, was me just like pulling the handle over and over and over again, just seeing what would come out. And it was like just deleting everything that wasn't going to turn into a thing. Quite easy.
Yeah, I really. By the way, I like the more indigenous or like tribal direction you took with this piece here.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, the scarf, like it just gives me I don't know.
It adds a little bit of culture. It adds a little bit, like having a pattern on a fabric. It shows a bit of intention beyond like technology.
That's okay.
Yeah, it looks a little bit like he might be like a guy with like face paint on or something too. If you like don't look at it too close, you realize like, oh no, he's like a weird alien mutant guy. Like a mishmash of like futuristic cyborg alien and like tribal shaman or something. I think that's what Jay's talking about.
Thank you. I feel fuck. I mean, God. I didn't think it was that off base. Shit.
Jazz was
He's like,
right. Jay
hard
is wrong. Just take the L.
Taking the L.
One of the other things I like to do is I'll take the gradient. Do I have a gradient map for this? I guess I usually just am adapting
What is
this
a
one.
gradient map? What the fuck is it? Like, I have no idea. You always talk about it, and then I see you pan through these like weird images. I have no idea what's going on.
It's a button. It's called a gradient map. See, it says gradient. I'm in the gradient editor.
Yeah, but what? Okay, what does it effectively do? I have no idea what it's like effectively doing.
Oh, okay. One
You know in
second.
video games where you like dye your armor? That's a gradient map.
Here.
Okay.
Here, I'll show you an example that's clear in just a second. I don't know why I don't have this saved. The new button. There we go. Can't believe it's not in my lineup. Okay, gradient map. Okay. So, here's a good example.
Oh, okay.
It is replacing all of the pixels with a color based off of gradient. So, like, the blacks are now getting replaced by red, the whites are being replaced by green, and then the gradient in between 255 values of like light to dark, it's doing everything in between. And so you can see here it goes from blue to red to yellow, and it goes blue, red to yellow. But you can also even invert that. There's like no right or wrong way to do it. You can also add a ton of different points in transition over and over in all these different like colors. If you just lay it in normally, you end up with these like really strange kind of abstract patterns. But like here's one that I really like, and what it's doing is it's throwing in some red down at the shadows, then it's taking a break, then it's doing yellow that transitions into teal that's going back into yellow, and then it's doing nothing to the highlights. And so when we put this over the top of the image with a blending mode, what it's doing is it's adding a bit of those colors to each of those points on the values. So it's like darker values get more red, lighter values get more blue, and then but next to the blues it's always gated by these yellows based off of the sort of patterns of light and dark. And like the effect that we get as a result of that is something kind of like cinematic color grading. But it can also pull off other more interesting effects like in this case, I can get just the deepest shadows will start to glow red, which can be a really interesting effect because the red can sort of take the place of the deepest blacks to make like a a color which is deeper than black. I'll use this sometimes, like just in key areas to sort of exemplify like the absolute depth of a shadow by differentiating it color-wise from the other dark colors that are around it. In this case, I've got some blacks that are not doing that exactly, but like if I keep it in just some key areas of contrast, it can add something a little extra. But like you can see the way that it kind of begins to create these like interesting abstract like color and contrast moments as it like finds its way into the cracks of the painting. You can even see the original chrome brush underneath sort of re-emerging as this like cracked red lattice. Like that's all material that we can then harvest and use to do stuff inside of our image. It's like just sort of raw chaos that we get to sort of spool up and harvest and be able to reuse however we see fit.
Yeah, it's really dope. I gotta head out. Y'all take it easy.
All right, see you around.
Hey, Jay, make art.
Yeah, I'm gonna be wrapping up here in just a second. I just want to see if there's any final like color grading I want to do at the end of this. To maybe like juice the lighting a little bit. One of the other things I'll do with the gradient map is I will I'll mask it. Come on. So some of the gradient map will only apply to like certain parts of the image. That way I can use it as like kind of like additional lighting source, or help color the lighting sources a little bit. Or like color the shadowed areas, treat them differently. So doodle wise, pretty happy with it. I think I have a folder for these even. So I'm gonna save it, dump it out into my sketchbook thread, and then I'm gonna call it a day. So we gotta find somebody to raid. If anybody in chat has any suggestions on rating, I'm open to it. By Micha. Yeah, Dustin's saying it's like getting caramelized stuff in the frying pan to make a sauce. That is exactly what it is. I'm out here making gravy from the art. The advertisement that I'm getting on here is for Warframe. This guy totally looks like a Warframe guy.
I could see it.
Yeah, kinda. Like if a Warframe guy were wearing a scarf.
Man, I can't believe Warframe is still running as strong as it is. That's awesome. They're like an indie company.
Oh yeah, yeah. I remember when it first came out.
Everybody
like,
hated it. Everybody hated it when it first came out.
Yeah, it was rough. But it looked like nothing else I've ever seen before.
By Micha is doing really great marker work, which is like fucking impossible, and he's got like 20 viewers. A great target for a raid here. I'm adding so much to my sketchbook. This whole process has been working on this project. Working on Huckleberry has got me making so much art. Because I'm finishing stuff for Angelarium, and then I'm doing these studies every day, and now I'm doing like these doodles on top of it. It's crazy how many like new JPEGs I'm putting into the world. Like I just started my sketchbook thread earlier this week, and I've already got like 6 posts. All right, so let me get this raid going. Raid. Don't want to spell it wrong and send you out to hell. All right. I am going to go join their channel. I'll see you guys on the other side.
Look around on your own time, but I'm looking around for pens to use. They don't just appear in my holy fucking hell. We're not getting any work done today, are we? Pete Mohrbacher, welcome to the Mega Galaxy. Thank you so much for the raid. Big raids. Alright, let me pause it. Let me pause the